Okay, I think you guys should be able to hear me now. Let me know if you guys can hear me. Candy said yes. Okay, good. Hey, Lynn. Hey, Paige. Hey, Candy. Welcome in, everyone. Blake, what's going on in McCreary County? I'm going to let some more people join in real quick, and then uh, we'll start going through the Doug Harless case files. There's a whole lot. I'm not going to go through each and everything, but if you guys if you guys want to see everything that is in the case files, I made a Google Drive last night. You guys are more than welcome to look at my recent post. Join that Google Drive, and I'll accept you guys into it. And you guys will be able to see everything that's in there. There is audio, there's transcripts, there's interviews with police officers, there's photos, there's a lot of stuff in there. All right. But I got a couple of the supplementary reports pulled up. It's basically, I mean, they have pretty much everything in these. We can look at different things. Everything that I'm going to be showing is coming directly from the official Kentucky State Police files that they released on the Doug Harless case. And I'm not going to be giving my opinion or anything. I'm just going to be strictly going off of what is in the files, or I'm going to try not to give my opinion. But everything will be what is exactly in the files. The case files, transcripts, audios, photos, there's reports, there's a lot in here. Hey, Josh. Tim, I haven't found video footage of the light bulb camera in here, but there is, I think, an affidavit where they requested the footage. So I don't know if it's somewhere inside of these files that I just haven't seen yet or what, but there's a lot of stuff in here. And really it's kind of overwhelming. And the way that they sent it hasn't been like the most organized, but I've tried to separate it the best I can, rename folders. That way I know what each thing means. But whenever you first pull it up, they've got, let's see, when you first pull this up, the records that they sent, this is kind of how it looks right here. It's got this file, and then you click on it, and then it's got more files that you can click into. All attachments really pretty much has the gist of everything, and then it kind of breaks down into each section. There's audio CADs, CIRT, the documents, executed search warrants. They have Harless social media on here. They have stuff about the burglary case that started everything. They have mapping screenshots. They have the officer round count forms. They have a section called Other, which basically has like everything that they labeled as Other, but there's a lot of extra information in this. There's radio traffic. And then here's a whole bunch more information from the investigation. But yeah, there's a lot. And then here is the affidavit and the search warrant as well. I know a lot of people had been asking about that. So we'll pull up the affidavit first. And this says that the affidavit, um, let's see, Albert Riley, a peace officer of London Police Department. There is reasonable and probable grounds to believe there is now, let's see, on the premises known as numbered as 489 Van Zant Road, and they labeled it as a white double wide trailer with a covered front porch sitting off a driveway with a gravel, or sitting off the roadway with a gravel driveway. The sailor trailer, I cannot read, sits vertical to the roadway. And then it says the following described personal property, any and all stolen items from a theft burglary that occurred on Taylor Drive in London, Kentucky, including but not limited to power tools, leaf blowers, weed eaters, pole saws, tools, electronics, hand tools, vehicle parts slash accessories, jewelry, and any illegal substances. But this affidavit was put in, it looks like, at 9:21 a.m. on December 23rd. And then on down the affidavit, it says, acting on information received, affidavit conducted the following independent investigation. Officers conducted a neighborhood canvass and was able to locate camera footage in the area. The camera footage showed an odor model white Blazer in a residential yard and driving into the parking lot of State Farm. Let me highlight this as I go so you guys can see it. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. State Farm Insurance on West 5th Street in London. The owners of the white Blazer in a residential yard. I just messed it up. The owners of the residence stated they had a Hobart Buttery working for him until he went to jail. He stated they reached back out to him when he was released from jail for a job and was denied employment. They stated that they believed that he was unhappy with the decision not to have his job back. The owner of the stolen goods stated that Hobart drove an older model white Blazer. So this is all from the affidavit. And then it goes on to say the white odor model Blazer was located in Manchester, Kentucky, and a male subject was working on it. Officers were able to speak with the subject identified as Hobart Buttery. Buttery stated that he was in the area of Taylor Drive around the time of the thefts, and he had taken a heater and a steel weed eater from outside of a building on the property of 508 Taylor Drive. Buttery stated that he took the heater to DJ Pawn shop in Manchester, Kentucky, and the weed eater to Jim Steele's house located in Lilly. Captain Ryan Jackson, along with Lieutenant Drew Jackson, spoke to the wife of Buttery. She stated that Buttery had brought numerous stolen items to their residence at Beach Creek Apartments in Manchester. She stated that he took a weed eater to the residence of Jim Steele and Rhonda Steele in Lilly that was described to be a white double-wide trailer. Officers were able to locate identification for James Steele with an address of, and then it's redacted, in Lilly, Kentucky. Devin, so they did like a whole, it looked like they did like a whole search on Doug's social media. I can pull it up for you so you can see, like, they got his Facebook data and some of his other social media activity. There is an affidavit in here that they sent to Meta too. I want to pull that up. That way you guys can see what they said whenever they sent it in. but I honestly don't know where everything's at in here because it's kind of all over the place. Yeah, I can't remember what exactly they said in the affidavit. I'll have to try to find it. But this has a lot of information in it. Let's see. Like the very first set of pages they sent has the contents, the summary of event, the investigation, arrival on scene, general observations on scene, review of LPD search warrant, response to London Police Department, photographs and round count of involved subject officer, and then it lists the weapons that was let's see, that the involved subject officer had on him. And then they did photographs and round counts of Detective Albert Riley as well as Detective Ashley Taylor. And then they got their CIRT response. They got the meeting with the chief and assistant chief, um, who I don't think are the chief and assistant chief anymore of the London City Police Department. They got the scene process and evidence collection. And then they have interviews with the neighbors, interviews with family, interviews with officers. They have interviews with EMS. Looks like they have an interview with a constable. And this is just like in the first set of pages. So there is a lot on here. And then they got reviews of the recorded phone call with LPD Officer Jared Hill and Laurel County Judge Executive David Westerfield. They got an interview with London Police Officer Jared Hill, interview with previous employer, review of evidence, items of evidence collected, review of video surveillance of shooting incident, review of photography, forensic diagrams. Let's see. Review of wound pattern analysis, review of medical records, review of social media, review of victim cell phone examination. And then they also got review of mapping applications and public records relating to, and then they have it redacted as well. Lilly, Kentucky 40740. And then they got the investigative supplements from it looks like all KSP troopers and detectives, sergeants, and lieutenants. And then there's contact with the Commonwealth attorney, the special prosecutor, search warrants. They did an ATF e-trace. Let's see. Legal considerations. I kind of want to look at that because I don't remember seeing this one. Legal considerations. And then, of course, the body cams, which none of them were equipped with body cams. Let me go to page 679 real quick. I put 379. Wait, did that go to the right page? Yeah, 679. Because I didn't even see this page. The authority, legal considerations. Hi, Chelsea. The authority for a police officer to use non-deadly and deadly force in response to resistance situation is covered in chapters 503 and 520 of the KRS. Is this just going over the KRSs? I thought it was like, oh yeah. That's an officer. But yeah, there's a ton of stuff in here. If you guys want to see something specific, like for example, the audio um, of any of the officers or anyone specifically, let me know. Or if you want to look at some of the photos of the scene, if you want to look at some of the photos of the officers after the shooting, whatever you guys want to look at, I'm more than happy to take you to it and share it with you. But there's several different files that I have pulled open, and this is all from KSP. But I'll pull up the audio section because I know some of you may be interested in seeing what's all in that. But there's interviews with EMS, neighborhood, canvas, so some of the neighbors, and then there's interviews with all of the officers. If you guys want to listen to any of these. And then it also looks like there's an interview with the constable as well. Yeah, Tim, do you guys want to listen to Josh Morgan's audio? We can listen to it if you want. There's also like the transcript, but they got the audio on here too, which is cool. So you can actually listen to it. I think it's very long, so we can listen to part of it. We can listen to all of it, however you guys want to do it. Alina, they did away with body cams. I can't remember if I think it was in 2023. I think they said due to funding, and they didn't have body cams during this. But I believe that all the London City police officers now have body cams again. So, but we can listen to any of these. It doesn't matter, or we can look through some of the photos. I haven't listened to none of the EMS ones. I don't know exactly what they say. I haven't listened to none of the neighbors. I haven't listened to Hobart Butteries. A lot of these I haven't listened to, actually. I've read some of the transcripts for a little bit just to kind of see and just match up things and see what's different or what's not different. And then the video, there is a video section, but it's just, I believe it's the neighbor's camera footage. Yeah. So this is the footage from the time that the officers arrived, which will be in just a minute. Let's see, it'll be around this time. You can see the headlights. You want to listen to Riley's? I believe it says that they didn't have dash cams either. I agree, Elena. But this is the time that they pull up, which is around 11:49 p.m. Oh, that scared me. Sorry if that's too loud. and there's where shots were fired. So if you guys remember, we started that around 11:49. It looks like they pulled in, I think it was early 11:49, right around. Yep. So early 11:49 is when they pulled in, 11:49:05 or so, and then shots were fired. Wait, were shots already fired? It was less than 2 minutes. I was doing the math the other day. Yeah. So early 11:49 and then late 11:50 right there. So that's under 2 minutes from the time that they arrived until the time that shots were fired. All right, that is all of that footage. Just gonna see what the other one was, unless it's the same. Looks like it's different. I think this one may have been after too. Yeah, you got like 3 minutes after that other video. Candy, I'll accept your request in just a second. I forgot. Let me go do that real quick. That way you can see all the files yourself. Looks like there's a few others that wanted in too. I just accepted everyone else so they can see. Yeah, they said they announced London City Police. It's so hard to hear. I don't want to turn the other one up, but you can hear it in the video too. But it was still less than 2 minutes from the time that they arrived till when gunshots were fired. Oh yeah, I was gonna show the search warrant too. I forgot. Proof by affidavit having this day been made before me by Detective Albert Riley, a peace officer of the London Police Department, that there is probable and reasonable cause for the issuance of this search warrant as set out in the affidavit attached hereto and made a part hereof as if fully set forth herein. You are commanded to make the immediate search of the premises known and numbered as 489 Van Zant Road, Lilly, Kentucky 40740. more particularly described as follows. This is a residential home located at 489 Van Zant Road, Lilly, Kentucky. It is a white double wide residence with a covered front porch and or in a vehicle or vehicles as described. There's nothing there. And then and or on the person or persons of, there's nothing there. And seize the following described personal property. Any and all stolen items from a theft burglary that occurred on Taylor Drive in London, Kentucky, including but not limited to power tools, leaf blowers, weed eaters, pole saws, tools, electronics, hand tools, vehicle parts / accessories, jewelry, and any illegal substances. Hey, Kevin. Adrian, that's a good question. I don't know which ones have their sirens on because I was listening to some of the transcripts from the officers and they specifically asked them if they had lights and sirens on. You know, they asked them like if they were working that night, if they were activated and things like that. We can listen to the audio to see, but then you can also see in the video as well too. But I don't know which officers did and didn't. I know there was several that said no to that question if they did have any on, but I haven't listened to all of them yet. So, but this is the search warrant. And let's see. I was going to see. Maybe it's in the affidavit. Oh, yeah. And then the affidavit or the search warrant, I guess, was signed at 10:57 p.m. So looks like it was started at 9:21 a.m. and then they got it signed by the judge at 10:57 p.m. Kevin, it was KSP. I think they had two guys do all the interviews. I may be mistaken, but um, it looked like two KSP troopers were doing the interviewing. But we can look at that. We can read those or we can listen to them. However you guys want to go about it. Because I mean, we can listen to the audios. The audios are pretty long though. Um, and yeah, I mean, there's audios of each officer. There's audios with the neighbors, with EMS, with family. Yeah, Adrian, it's kind of hard to tell in the video. I mean, you can see headlights, but it's kind of hard to tell, I guess, if they had lights and sirens on and then the dogs are barking and it's just really hard to hear everything in it. I don't know about that, Tessa. I'll have to listen to them or read some of them. But there is a ton of stuff in this file.
Hey, 051. Yeah, 5. West against roll 97 on this traffic, 12 eyes, yeah. You don't care, hold traffic till we get secured.
Turn our timers off.
I'll let you know in a minute. 8051, South 5, South 5. We're still on in there? Alright. A minute. 8051, South 5, South 5. We're still on in there? Alright.
Oh, there's a few.
812, roll EMS.
Where are they at on?
Hey, what the roll you now?
Paging them now.
Station 2, just come tonight. Man's at road, stand by in the area. Shots fired.
Info. No, 5 main, please.
What they got with them? I didn't hear it.
I got it.
Heck,
Serving a search warrant. Shots fired. I request an EMS.
Copy. Copy. See you on 6-1, show me around.
Where they're 52.
22 London, I'll be in around.
Where they're 52.
Area 4 London, 2 weeks in.
Where they're 52.
LA 50 London.
50.
Does now.
Responded. Stage in the area. Law enforcement on scene. Shots fired. Search warrant. Unknown on injuries at this time. Break for a number time.
Go ahead, London.
Dispatch 2351 en route 2352. Road number 12,139. 12139.
347 London, I'll be in around.
So they're 54.
805 London.
Go ahead.
Units 10-4, NEMSN. We've got a mail subject here.
Okay. Where they're 54. EMS units in or out, Van Zandt.
Go ahead.
805 advising all units are 10-4. There is a male needing checked out. Advised to come on in.
10-4. 805.
805.
So the cat, we got units rating at 8.
2358.
I do not believe there was any sheriff deputies out there at all that night. And I don't think there's any mention in these files that I've seen so far. But there is a lot of stuff in here. Okay, so these are some of, looks like the photos of the officers. Do I have to pull these up one at a time? I guess so. These cats keep getting on my desk. This is Detective Albert Rowley. And this was after the shooting. They took photos of them. It does take a long time to read. This is Detective Ashley Taylor. Yeah, I can play Morgan's interview. And then, yeah, if you guys don't want to listen to this, if you want to look at the files for yourself, just go to one of my recent posts, click on the Google Drive that I've put on there, and just join as a viewer, and I'll have to accept it, but you can see everything as KSP uploaded it. I just transferred it over to the Google Drive, so that way everybody could see it. Devin, I haven't done the math on that. I need to see when they first called for EMS. Yeah, Kelly, they did. They're do you guys want to see some of the photos from the crime scene? I think everything's redacted heavily, but if there's some that has anything in it like blood splatter or just any identifying stuff, I'm just going to skip over that one because just out of respect for the family, but you guys can see the full thing in the Google Drive if you want. But we can listen to the interviews, look at some of the photos, whatever you guys want to do. There's just a lot in these files. I got you, Devin. Let me figure out where all the photos are because they had a bunch. What are these? Oh, this is the evidence log. Thank you, Rhonda. It's been kind of hard to organize all this, and I'm still not very organized at all. But the way they sent it was not that good, in my opinion. But I don't think so, Kevin. Why am I missing the photos? They really did. Like, all the files are scattered throughout. I've tried to organize a few of them, but it's just I don't know. It's kind of complicated. You got to figure out like where everything's at, what you're even looking at. I appreciate that, Devin. Rhonda, it really does. Like, when I first got this the other day, I'm like, I don't know how I'm gonna get this stuff out to everyone. And then I was like looking more into it, and then I just made that Google Drive, which was really cool. But absolutely, Vicky. And I'm not on here trying to sway anyone's opinion. I mean, you guys can see everything for yourself. So it's just very, very sad. Thank you, Kevin. Should print it out. Tim, I thought about that, but there's like 1,000 pages. Listen, I wouldn't. That is ideal, but I just wonder how much money that would cost to print everything out. Terry, I appreciate you. All right, why am I missing these photos? Hang on. I'm going to play the Josh Morgan audio until I find some of these photos. It's just audio, it's not video, so we'll listen to. I know a lot of people were wanting to listen to his, but I'll play this while I'm looking for the photos of the crime scene because for some reason I can't find them.
Today is December 27th, 2024. The time is 13:44 hours. Sergeant Les Moses with the Kentucky State Police Critical Incident Response Team. Also present is Lieutenant Ty Chavies with KSP Post 11 London and Detective Matt Parmley.
Let me know if y'all can hear that.
We're here at London Police Department conducting an interview with Josh Morgan. Also present is Scott Miller and Emily Pence, attorneys for Josh Morgan. This is in regard.
What? Why did it stop? How many files were in mine? I think, if I'm not mistaken, Elliot, was like 14 or something too. But I thought it was going to be way more than that because they said like 75. So I'm just wondering like where everything else is. Let me pull it back up because for some reason it just like glitched out. It hasn't done that to me yet. I don't know if it's because I'm live streaming or my internet. Let me pull it back up though. Get back to where we were. We're like 30 seconds in.
Scott Miller and Emily Pence, attorneys for Josh Morgan. This is in regards to KSP case number 11-24-0609. Josh, if you don't care, Could you provide your first and last name and spell them, please?
Josh Morgan, Joshmorgan.
Okay. And you're aware this has been audio recorded, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are you okay with it?
Yes.
All right. Let me read this rights waiver to you, and if you're in agreement, then we'll go ahead and ask some questions regarding the incident. This investigation is to determine whether any criminal laws have been violated that resulted in the death of Douglas Harless. It is not an administrative or disciplinary inquiry. You are not being compelled to give any statement or answer any questions. Your cooperation in this investigation is voluntary. Is this your understanding?
Yes.
Okay. Is it okay if I ask you some questions regarding the incident?
Yes.
All right. We'll get into a little bit of background. And I think I mentioned this before we even turned the recorder on, but I want to make sure that you know throughout the interview, if we ask you any questions that you don't know the answer to, it is perfectly acceptable for you to say, I don't know, or I don't recall. We're just looking to get what you remember. I just don't want you to guess. Okay?
Yes.
What is your birth date? And what's your approximate height?
5'8",
And approximate weight?
200.
Do you wear prescription eyeglasses or contacts?
No.
And you're currently employed with London Police Department.
Yes.
What is your current title or rank with the PD?
A detective, Special Investigations Unit.
And what's your badge number?
830.
How long have you been employed with London Police Department?
A little over a year.
What training academy did you graduate from to become a law enforcement officer?
Department of Criminal Justice.
Is that DOCJT?
Yes.
Do you recall the cadet class number?
489.
Do you remember the dates when the class began and ended?
No,
Do you remember the months and year?
it was 2017. I think it ended in March, maybe.
Okay. So it probably began late 2016 and wrapped up maybe March 17, something like that.
March may have been the beginning.
Okay,
It's
fair
been a
enough.
while.
Is that like a 22 or 23
It was a
week
23-week academy.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about your training. Can you kind of give a general overview of what the academy training is like? Kind of the topics that you all covered during that training?
I'm pretty sure the first thing that was covered was legal, and we went through the intoxilizer, the range training, the driving training, sexual assaults, and we covered report writing, and I guess how to speak with the general public, and
Like scenario
stuff.
Okay. Kind of teaching you how to interact with the public and kind of further your investigation as you interact with them.
Yes.
So you mentioned legal. I guess that would be both KRS, so laws that you would be enforcing, as well as laws that you have to operate within
Yes.
that govern your police powers and those things, as well as constitutional law.
Yes.
And you mentioned intoxilizers, so that would be in regards to like DUI detection and those things. I think you mentioned driving track or something, but emergency operating vehicles, those kind of things.
Yes.
I'm sure that they covered shooting.
Yes.
So there's shooting qualifications that go with it, sexual assault investigations, report writing. I think you pretty well covered it. Can't think of anything else that might be covered in there.
Defensive tactics.
Okay, yeah. There's one that I forgot. Did they also introduce you all to like de-escalation training and maybe crisis intervention training, something along those lines?
Yes.
Okay. Have you had any of that since the academy?
Not that I can recall, no.
Okay. All right. Have you been through the CIT?
No.
Okay. Can you talk about the de-escalation training a little bit? I know it's been a little while, but can you talk a little bit about what really that is?
It's just a way to talk to people to get them to stop what they're doing, or maybe to calm people in stressful situations.
Okay. So you're talking to people that are either excited or, emotionally charged, as well as maybe mentally ill.
Yes.
And to try to resolve those situations and de-escalate or kind of bring them down so that they may not be such a threat. Is that,
Yes.
Okay. Where did you start? Because you said that you'd been at London PD before, so where have you worked previously?
I've worked at the Laurel County Sheriff's Department.
Okay.
That's-
Is that where you were employed when you went through the training academy?
Yes.
Okay. Was there a field training officer or an FTO period at some point during that
Yes.
employment? Was that before or after the training academy? I'm not trying to pin you down.
I want to say both,
Okay.
but it was a brief period.
Okay. So, field training officer, that's kind of where you ride with someone who has more experience and they're kind of showing you the ropes. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. How did that kind of go? Like, was there a certain time frame that you had to ride with somebody?
It's been so long. I rode with somebody for a couple weeks when I first started, and then coming back from the academy, our shift supervisor was pretty much at every call.
Okay. So is it kind of like a crawl, walk, run?
Yeah.
So you start out and you're really observing their interactions, and then as you go further along, then you start taking more of an active role. Would that be accurate? Did you also have a probationary period with the Sheriff's Department?
I'm sure I did, but
Nothing that you recall specifically?
mhm.
Okay. How long were you with the Sheriff's Department?
Up until I came here, I worked part-time with them for a piece before I came here.
Okay. So from approximately 2017 up until last year, 2023.
Yeah.
I just start speaking because I do the same thing. I nod,
Mhm.
but
Yes.
yeah, just remember that it's audio recorded, so I do need you to speak up, okay? You got anything up to this point?
Could you describe, like, the part-time, how did that work?
During the part-time that I worked for the Sheriff's Department, I'd mainly done SRT call-outs. Like if they were short on a shift or something, they'd call me and I would come in and work a shift.
Did you ever work there full-time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you mentioned SRT call-out, so that kind of leads me right into my next question. What kind of additional trainings have you been through since the academy? Any specialized certifications that you hold or anything?
When I worked for the sheriff's department, we went through. I forgot the abbreviation of it, but it's Kentucky Tactical Officers, KTOA,
Okay.
and done their 40-hour SWAT training through Norris Tactical. And then during the 4-year period that I was on part-time there, I continued that training.
So KTOA, I think it's Kentucky Tactical Officers Association, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you went through the 40-hour basic SWAT training,
Yes.
and that was hosted by KTOA, but Norse Tactical was one that taught it.
Yes.
Do you remember what year that was that you went through that, by chance?
I think it was 2018, 2019, somewhere around there.
Okay. What other training have you been through? I know, of course, any certified law enforcement officer has to go through 40 hours of in-service every year. What kind of trainings did you go to for those?
The Norse Tactical, it counted as 40 hours or 36, and then I would do an online class.
Like mandatory stuff that,
Yeah.
you know, whatever it be, emergency driving or
Yeah.
whatever. What else have you had?
I've had like here I've done the Cellbrite, but that don't count as a 40-hour class. Breath test operator, I've had to research on that. Back when I was on the SO, I done chemical munitions. I went through Arwen.
Would that be part of the chemical munitions training? Or is
No,
it separate?
it's separate. That's like less than lethal,
Or the chemical munitions, is that like hand deployable?
hand deployable. Yeah,
As opposed to R1.
I went through. What is the name of that company? I can't think of it right offhand. But
Is it Safari Land?
yes, Safariland. Yeah.
Arwen's ARWEN.
Mm-hmm.
When it's transcribed, it will be important. In addition to Arwen, you said that's less lethal, or using like beanbag baton rounds to render somebody to compliant, pain compliance type. In addition to Norse Tactical, the 40-hour SWAT course, have you had other tactical training in addition to that, besides the chemical munitions and the Arwen less lethal?
We would go through, I think, 7 or 8 trainings there a year.
Is that in-house training?
We always done 16 hours a month of training
Okay.
At Norris?
at Norris and here.
Okay. And is that part of the sustainment?
Yeah, that's part of the sustainment with KTOA.
Have you had any other, do you have any other certifications?
Not that I can think of.
Okay. Have you, other in-services, have they been investigative related?
No.
Okay.
No, I have one coming up this year, the 2-week basic investigator.
Okay. What, so we talked about you were previously employed with Laurel SO, and then you immediately came to London PD. What jobs have you had prior to Laurel County Sheriff's Department?
Oh, Lord. I've been a professional painter, a carpenter. I've worked at numerous factories.
Okay. Do you have any previous military service?
No. I tried, but Mama cried.
I understand. Have you had any college courses related to law enforcement?
Not related to law enforcement, no.
Okay. Do you have any degrees in?
I have certificates from carpentry and stuff back when I was.
Okay. But no associate's degree or bachelor's degree?
No.
From college? Okay. What's your typical work week schedule look like? Do you have like set days off?
No, not really. It's mainly, what we're working on at the time. It's, mostly drug related, and we work on drug dealer time.
Okay. And that's what I was going to kind of get into. So you said that you're a detective with special investigations. So is your all's primary focus in special investigations drug related crimes?
Yes.
Okay.
At this point, yes.
Okay. So with that, it's a little more fluid than 8 to 4, Monday through Friday type of schedule, right?
Yes.
Okay. So as one of the detectives, how many of you all are in special investigations?
There's 4 of us.
4 of you?
And that's including the sergeant.
Okay. So as somebody is conducting an investigation, then you all are kind of...
We're there with them in the background.
Gotcha.
Keeping everybody is.
So how long have you been a detective with special investigations?
I want to think that started maybe February or March of this year.
Okay. So pretty much the majority of the time that you've been with London PD, you've been in that assignment.
Yes.
Okay. And you kind of talked about some of your job duties with that. So do you all, you as a member of that, do you conduct some of the investigations as well? And then do you support the other detectives?
I'm mainly there as a support role.
Okay. So somebody
until
else is
until I get through some, more training and stuff.
Okay. Fair enough.
When we first started, it was mostly warrant services and things of that sort.
In more of like a tactical capacity?
Yes.
Okay. Ty, you got any follow-ups at this point? Okay. So let's talk about your uniform that you were wearing at the time of the incident. Can you give me a detailed description of that uniform? And we can talk from the head down, whatever kind of helps you out to be able to describe what you were wearing.
Let's start from the bottom up.
Fair enough.
I had a pair of 511 tactical boots, black. I had a pair of 511 tactical pants, and I guess it's a brown color. I'm not exactly sure the.
Brown's fine.
I had on one of our pullovers with a hood on it that has our badge and London Police on it.
Okay. On the front of it.
On the front of it, yes.
Okay.
Jamie, Josh Morgan's
I had on my tactical
Josh Morgan's
belt.
being interviewed.
Does your pullover have anything on the back of it?
I had on my tactical belt.
Does your pullover have anything on the back of it, or is it just on the?
It's just on the
chest?
front.
Okay. And you said that you did have a gun belt on?
I had a gun belt on with.
We'll get into the gun belt in just a
Okay.
second. We'll talk about what you were wearing.
And then I had my plate carrier body armor on.
When you
And then-
say plate carrier, is that an external carrier?
External carrier.
Okay.
I have a tan boggin on my head, and that was pretty much it. Which, I had an undershirt and all that.
But was covered from those other
Yeah.
things. So let's talk about your plate carrier real quick, and then we'll get into the gun belt. What does your plate carrier look like? What's the color of it?
It's multicam.
Okay. And does it have any type of markings on it?
Yes. And it has silver reflective, and then inside of that silver reflective, it says police.
Okay. So is that pretty broad across your chest?
Yes.
Okay. That silver reflected, is that like police letters?
Yes.
Okay. And that's across the front of it?
Yes.
Is there anything on the back of that plate carrier?
No.
Okay. Does it have anything else besides that big police marking
Yes.
across the chest?
It has 3 magazine holders.
Are those rifle mag or pistol mag holders?
Rifle mags.
Okay.
And then I have a pouch right here in the webbing, and
On
then
the
a
left
taser
side?
on the left side.
Okay. So you have a taser near the front on the left side, and then basically under your arm on the left side you have the pouch.
Yes.
What's contained in the pouch?
A lockpick kit, some batteries, and a multi-tool.
Anything else on the front of your plate carrier besides the rifle mags and the taser?
I have 2 rifle mags and a tourniquet, a pin, and a handcuff key.
What was the second last thing you said before handcuffing?
Pen?
A pin.
Like a writing pen?
I got you.
Anything across the back of it? Like any other attachments or anything on the
No.
back of it? Okay. Let's get to your gun belt. And I find it very challenging to talk about what all's on my gun belt, so I'll talk about from the belt buckle. So
Okay.
let's go from the belt buckle and move to your left. So just talk about the items as they go from your belt buckle to the left.
Okay. The first thing will be is a double mag pouch for a pistol,
Okay.
and then directly behind that is a rifle mag pouch, and then directly behind that is a radio.
Keep going. All the way around the back.
And then once you get to the back side, there's a handcuff case, and then a drop leg holster, and then I have my badge.
Okay. So you said that so your radio is on your left hip, pretty much.
Yes.
Okay. And then as you go around the back, then as you come around to basically your right hip is where your handcuff pouch is.
Yes.
Okay. And then you have a drop holster that's where your pistol is.
Yes.
Okay. And then you have a badge. Is that on your front, basically in front of your right hip?
It's on my front right thigh.
Okay. Is that like clipped onto your drop leg
On
holster?
my drop leg holster. Yes.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, real quick, just so I understand. Is that like a fabric badge or is that an actual?
It's an actual badge.
Okay.
Since we mentioned your pistol, we'll kind of go into that. Is
Okay.
that an agency issued pistol?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What is the, what kind of pistol is that?
It's a Glock 34.
What caliber is that?
9mm.
Do you know the magazine capacity?
17.
And the magazines that you carry on your belt, so you said that you had a 2 magazine holster on your belt also. Do you know what the capacity of those magazines are?
17.
Okay, so each of those are 17 as well.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So when you carry your pistol on duty, when you load that pistol, do you count how many rounds are in the magazine, or do you just load it to max capacity?
I try to count as we're going, but sometimes I lose count and have to look at the back.
Okay, so the display on the back of it, so the holes in it,
Mhm.
kind of indicates how many rounds are in it.
Yeah, and then after I get it loaded, I push down just to make sure that it's fully loaded.
Okay. When you insert the magazine into the pistol, do you chamber around?
Yes.
Okay. Once you chamber around, do you top off that magazine or replace that round that's chambered?
Yes.
Okay. So when you carry that pistol, so there's 17 in the magazine and 1 in the chamber.
Yes, sir.
Okay. That ammunition, is that agency issued also?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can you describe, and if you don't know the ammo that you all carry, that's fine. Can you at least describe like what the color is?
It's a silver casing, and then I guess a copper plated hollow point.
Does that pistol have any attachments on it?
Yes, sir. It has an O light on it, just a light toward the front of it.
Okay, that's actually attached to the
Yes, sir.
Does it have any optics on it besides just the sight that's on it?
No, sir.
Are you right or left-handed?
Right-handed.
Okay. And do you shoot right-handed also?
Yes, sir.
Okay. When you train to shoot, do you train to shoot with both eyes open or one eye closed?
Both eyes open.
Do you carry a backup weapon?
No.
Ty, have I missed anything at this point?
Are you assigned a body-worn camera?
No.
Okay. Were you wearing a body-worn camera at all that night?
No.
Okay. Are you aware of anybody in the department that's assigned a body-worn camera that was there?
No.
Let's talk about your patrol rifle a little bit, because you indicated that you carry magazines on your plate carrier. What kind of, did you deploy a patrol rifle that
Yes, sir.
night? Okay. Let's talk about it. Is it agency issued?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What kind of firearm is that?
It's a Daniel Defense AR-15.
What is it chambered in?
5.56, 223.
Okay. Is it one of those that can accommodate either one? Is that ammunition, is it agency issued also?
Yes.
Is it a short rifle? Is it like a 16-inch barrel? Or is
It's a short rifle.
Okay. So like less than 16 probably?
Mhm.
Okay. And you said that you were carrying it that night.
Yes, sir.
Was that the weapon that you discharged?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is your rifle equipped with a camera or a weapon-mounted light or laser or any kind of optics or anything?
I have I think it's an aim point. Optic was not it's a red dot.
Okay, so it's non-magnified then?
It's not magnified.
Okay. So that's the optic. What about
It has backup sights.
Okay, so like backup iron sights?
Yes.
Okay. What about a weapon-mounted light? Is
Yes.
there a light attached to it?
It has a light, a pressure pad.
Okay.
And a suppressor.
Okay, so it does have a suppressor on it.
Yes. And it has a kind of a hand stop kind of forward grip
Okay, on the forearm of the
Yes.
rifle.
and a rifle sling.
Okay. Anything special about the sling?
I mean, it's quick detach and quick adjustable.
Is it like a 1-point sling?
It's a
or
2-point sling.
2-point sling. How many rounds do you carry? Well, walk that back just a little bit. The magazine that you carry in the rifle, what's the capacity of that?
I think that particular magazine was a 32 round.
32 round?
Yeah,
What brand is that? That's kind of different. Isn't it?
it's Daniel Defense.
Okay. I know normally it's like a 30 round capacity or
Yeah.
20, but that one's a little bit different. How do you carry that magazine when you load it? Do you normally have a set number of rounds that you put in that magazine?
30.
30. Okay. So you carry it basically down to from what the capacity is.
Yes.
Okay. When you carry that cruiser, or you carry that rifle in your cruiser, do you carry it with a empty chamber or do you have a round chamber?
I have a round chamber.
Okay. So is that 30 round magazine inserted, or 30 rounds in the magazine, is it inserted in each chamber around?
No.
Okay. How do you carry it then?
Just the, well, I'm sorry, yes. 30 round magazine, then I chamber a round.
Okay. So it would
And
be,
I don't take the mag out and put another round in it.
Okay.
No.
Thank you. That's where I was going with it and I couldn't get it out.
So a total of 30 rounds,
Yes.
including what's chambered.
I,
So that leaves, sorry, give me just a second. So it has a capacity for 32. You load it with 30. You insert it in the magazine. You chamber a round,
and then,
and then 29 are left in the magazine on a typical
yeah.
day.
Can I, let,
Just leave it for now.
Okay.
We can come back to it.
If that night it wasn't in that capacity, that's fine. Go ahead and talk about it now if you want to.
okay. I've used that magazine on different events, and there may have been some rounds missing from that magazine because you chamber and accidentally double feed and you ding around and you don't want to use it, you just throw it out.
Right. So the night of the incident, you're not 100% certain that it was
Right.
loaded to that capacity.
Right.
Okay. That's fine.
On that night, did you make any changes or manipulate the magazine at all? prior
No.
to- Okay. So however it was the days previous is the same it was?
Yes.
Okay.
So you didn't do a mag change?
No.
What brand of ammunition do you carry in your patrol rifle? Do you know?
I use two different types.
Okay.
One is the Hornady Tap, and the other one's Federal Bonded.
When you carry your patrol rifle, is there, do you vary like what you're carrying in the rifle as opposed to what you're carrying on your plate carrier?
No.
Okay, so if you have a magazine with Hornady rounds in it, would that, every round in that magazine, would they all be the same?
Yes.
Hornady? Okay. Would that be different than what you would carry on your plate carrier? If you recall?
I have habits, so I will keep Federal Bonded here, Federal Bonded here, and the center mag is the one that I use when I might be going into a structure, I will change it out.
Okay. Good point. So what rounds would you prefer to use if you were inside of a residence or inside of a structure?
Tap ammo.
Okay. Is there, I assume that there's probably some reason why you would prefer that.
A penetration.
Okay. Would those be less likely to exit the structure?
Yes.
Okay. So those Hornady tap rounds, at least in your understanding, those would probably be less likely to exit the residence
Yes.
if you were involved in a shooting. Okay.
Just for my own understanding.
Mm-hmm.
So on a given typical day that you go to work, the 32 round magazine, is that what's normally in the rifle? Or a different magazine is normally in the rifle and you change it depending on whatever the application is?
It's just like you said. I mean, if I have the time. If we were called to go to a warrant service, that magazine gets changed. If I know I'm entering into a structure, that magazine gets changed.
Okay.
But typically there will be a bonded ammo in there.
Okay. So normal cruiser carry, so to speak,
There'll be bonded ammo in there.
is federal bonded
Yeah.
ammunition. And then in the event you're tasked with an application where you have time and the ability to change to a magazine that carries Hornady tap
Mm-hmm.
rounds, you do that. And just so I understand correctly, the purpose of that is to prevent over-penetration.
Yes.
And so is it your understanding or training experience or just general knowledge that there's something fundamentally different with the Hornady round versus the federal round?
It's just the penetration, and the Hornady round fragment's a lot easier.
Okay. Were you trained on that is that something in your training at Norris or KTOA that there was a suggestion or
We
conversation?
adapted that ammo through the KTOA at my previous trainings.
Okay. Is that typical of the other individuals that you run this tactical team with?
There, yes.
Okay. So that is common practice. Okay.
Say out loud. It's just-
Yes, yes.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. I thought you were recording. Okay, so I just wanted to understand, and I'm not a tactical guy, if you can't tell. So I just want to make sure that I understand it correctly. So if I'm explaining it. So the change in ammunition was because it was located in a different magazine. It was already loaded in another magazine.
Mm-hmm.
And the purpose of that was because you were assigned search warrant at a residence, and it was in an effort to prevent over-penetration within a residence.
Yes.
And that is in line with the standard practice of your training and your tactics team.
Yes.
Okay.
Kind of touching on that. Josh, what ammunition do you carry? So the magazine on your belt,
Mhm.
the rifle magazine that you carry on your belt, what is the ammunition capacity of that magazine? Is that a 30 round or a 32 round
It's a
magazine?
32 round magazine.
Okay,
yes.
so it's a Daniel Defense magazine also?
Yes.
What kind of ammunition do you carry it in?
That's the bonded ammo.
Okay, so that's the federal bonded ammo.
Mhm.
And then the two on your plate carrier, one is bonded, and then the one that you carry in the center, that has the Hornady tap rounds
Yes.
up, right? Okay. Just wanted to make sure that I understood what each of those were. And that's something that you train with all the time, so you know which magazine you're grabbing has which ammunition in it.
Yes.
Okay. This seems like a very weird question, but I have found that it's different. When you shoot your rifle, do you shoot it right or left-handed?
Right-handed.
Okay. I've found people that shoot opposite.
Yes.
So they will shoot a pistol with a right-handed, but rifle left-handed, which I find weird that that happens. The magazines, the Daniel Defense magazines, are those all those agency issued
Yes.
also? Okay. So the rifle, the mags, and your ammo, that's all agency provided stuff?
Yes.
The 32 round magazine as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I was just making sure.
They're all 32 round.
Oh, they all are?
Yes.
Okay, I misunderstood that. I thought there was one mag in particular that was a 32 round magazine. Okay.
Yeah. Evidently, that's Daniel Defense's deal.
Yeah,
Which is
they
weird.
added to. I don't.
High dollar mags, high capacity.
30, you load to 28. 32, you load to 30. Is that the?
I guess
That's
so.
that's standard practice due to
Yeah.
feeding issues.
Feeding issues.
Oftentimes, I think what we've found is normally they carry magazines down to from the max capacity so that they can be loaded with the bolt in the forward position, right, or closed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That way you're not struggling to get it into your gun. Okay. Just making sure that I was clear, because that's my understanding from talking to everybody else, all the other tactical guys in the past. Not that I'm trying to beat this to death,
no,
but
no, no.
I want to understand how you carry and what you do and
Absolutely.
the rhyme and reason. You said that you carry, or correction, your rifle is equipped with a red dot. Do you adjust that for different settings? Do you normally like leave it on in your cruiser like all the time until the battery goes
No.
dead? Okay, so you turn it off.
No, I've had batteries die and then pull up the training and you're sitting there with no optic.
Yeah, so then you're having to fall back to your iron sights, your backup.
Mm-hmm.
So when you know that you're going on something that
I'll
you're
pick up
going
my rifle and turn the optic on.
Okay. Do you adjust that setting depending upon the environment that you
Yes.
know that you're going into? So what dictates how you adjust that brightness?
The light.
Okay.
So if it's bright outside, the dimmer your light. If it's dark outside, you might want to brighten it up a notch or two.
Okay. Would that be backwards? If it's bright, or if it's bright outside, would you need a brighter
Yes.
red dot? Okay.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
that's okay. I thought that's what you were going at. You just
Yeah.
got it reversed. So if it's really bright, like in the daytime, probably have to have it adjusted brighter so that you could see with all the ambient light. So if it's in a low light environment, you'd want it a little more dim. Is that accurate?
I think you got it backwards that
Okay.
time.
All right. But anyways, what I was getting at was is you adjust it based on your
Based on,
surroundings.
yes.
Okay. Are you issued a shotgun?
No.
Okay. I think just about every agency has gone away from the shotgun. I think patrol rifles have trumped that. Do you know if a round count was conducted on your weapons that you had on you during the incident?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Where was that round count conducted?
It was conducted here at the
Police
London
department?
Police Department, yes.
Okay. Did investigators take photographs of you either at the scene or during the round count showing the uniform that you were wearing?
Yes, it was during the round count,
Okay.
or right after the round count.
Okay. Were those photographs accurate of what you were wearing at the time of the incident?
Yes.
Okay. So nothing was taken off or put on, right?
Right. And I forgot to mention I had gloves on,
Okay.
tactical gloves.
Okay. You said that you did have a taser on your external vest.
Yes.
What kind of taser is it?
I'm
Do you know
pretty.
what model it is?
It's a XP, possibly. I'm pretty sure it's an XP.
Is that a single cartridge or does it
A
have
single cartridge.
We kind of talked about everything else. Do you know if that taser is equipped with a video or audio recording capability?
I don't think it is, no.
No.
I know that it came up just a few minutes ago that because of different circumstances, what have you, if you notice that a round is damaged or in between changing magazines and training, if there's any concern that the round is damaged, you'll just discard of it.
Yeah.
With that in mind, prior to the round count that we did that night, either you personally or as part of some sort of inspection process or just out of habit, do you know when the last time a accurate round count was done?
No. Well, the last one that would have been done on that would be my last, I guess, qual.
Okay. Going back to the taser, the night of that incident, did you unholster
No.
your taser? Okay. Was it ever activated
No.
that day? Do you know if you did a spark test that day?
I did not.
Let's move on into your cruiser. Josh, what kind of cruiser were you driving that night?
I was a passenger.
Okay. Who were you riding with?
I was riding with Ryan Jackson. Yes, Ryan Jackson.
Okay. There's so many Jacksons, I get confused. Is that Sergeant Jackson or Lieutenant Jackson?
Sergeant Jackson.
Okay.
That's different from Lieutenant Jackson and Captain Jackson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I start to get mixed up in everybody's names, so I appreciate it.
Just glad this didn't happen in Jackson County.
Yeah, that would have been really
Or Jackson,
confusing.
Kentucky.
Yeah. So, what kind of cruiser was that?
It's
that you
a-
were riding?
It's a Tahoe.
Okay. Is it like a black unmarked Tahoe?
No, it's marked.
It's a marked.
Yes, sir.
Okay. We'll get into all the other stuff about the cruiser in Sergeant Jackson's interview, but do you know if it has any type of video recording device in it that you saw or that you're aware of?
I don't think so. I think there may be like a baby monitor or something.
Okay, nothing that's recording.
No.
Okay.
Does the agency have any NVRs in any of the cars?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Do you know if the emergency lights were activated while you were in it?
Yes.
Okay. When was that?
When we initially pulled in the driveway.
Okay. Do you know if they stayed on during the whole event down there?
I can't remember.
Okay. All right. I know that you weren't in control of it. I was just wondering what your memory of that was. So on the day of the incident, so that would be Monday the 23rd when you would have been involved in it, right? What time did you start your shift that day?
I'm not real sure.
I know we already talked about you don't really have set shifts, so do you have any idea what time you come out?
It was in the evening. I called 10-8 through dispatch when I came out.
Did somebody contact you and request your involvement?
Yes, Lieutenant Jackson sent out a group text and asked if anybody would be willing to participate.
What was the gist of the message when he sent that out?
Pretty much we're doing a search warrant. Any of you special guys want to come out and help?
Okay. So was that targeted to the special investigation detectives?
Yes.
So after that message, I'm sure that it took you a little bit of time to get dressed and put on the uniform that you come to or were wearing and come out in. So you notified dispatch that you were 10-8 or on duty.
Mm-hmm.
And then where did you come to? Did you respond to the police department?
Yes.
Okay. So you didn't have any other law enforcement activities that day?
No.
You weren't working prior to that or anything?
No.
So when you came out, it was specifically for that task?
Yes.
Okay. Ty, you got anything up to this point? Okay. So we've got some photos laid out there in front of you that's labeled A through E, and there's actually a couple of pieces of blank paper in case you need them. Flip through those and see if those look like an accurate representation of that location. Does that all look familiar to you?
Yes.
Okay. So feel free to utilize any of those. We've got markers laid out there that you can utilize. So at this point, I'm going to have you kind of walk us through what happened. So basically from the time that you were notified that Lieutenant Jackson contacted you with a group message and asked for anybody that was willing to participate in the search warrant, what all information you were provided, anything that you gathered during any briefings, then your response to the scene, anything that you saw or observed or recall from your time there, all the way up from when this was an active situation until it transitioned into more of an investigative situation, and you were able to kind of back away from it. Okay? And this, we won't interrupt you. We'll let you tell it from start to end, and then we may have some follow-ups. Okay?
Okay. So after being called out, I got ready. Called 10-8. Came, well, as I was coming, I called 10-8. I got to the PD, and there was a group of guys around the table in her squad room, and then Ashley was in her office. I stood around, talked with those guys for a little bit. Then went into Ashley's office, and I seen I guess an OL of a guy laying on the desk, and I asked her, who's this guy? And she said, well, we had a informant tell us that, there was some stolen stuff brought to this guy. And I seen my address there. I pulled up the address on Google Maps. And I live in Lilly, so I'm kind of familiar to the area. I said, okay, I kind of know where this place is. And then I looked it up on the PDA and kind of looked at the residence and looked at the Google map. I was like, yeah, okay, I kind of know where we're going now. And I asked, what's supposed to be taken there, whatnot. And they said, some possible weed eaters and stuff like that was stolen from up here in town. We'd had some thefts that day or prior to, and they had talked to a guy, and he said that, we brought them out here to this residence. Then we kindly got together there before we left, and kind of went over a few details. Who's going to the door. Should we turn lights on? Should we just go in dark? and I mean things of that nature. As I was walking out the door, I was going to get in my vehicle, and Ryan said, "Hey, just ride with me. It'll save room." So I went. I got my plate carrier on, grabbed my flashlight, and my rifle, gloves, and my boggin was in the back, so I put it on because it was cold. We got into Ryan's vehicle. We pulled out, and I guess some guys got caught by some traffic lights or whatnot, or stuck in between traffic. So Drew called Ryan, or I can't remember if he called him or if it was on the radio, but he said, just pull over up here, this big parking lot on 25, like where they have yard sales and stuff, and there's a tobacco store. And we'll regroup there and get the rest of the guys together. So we sat there, we all got out, we circled up, we went over it again. Drew said, I want, Josh, Landry, Ryan, and Wes as my entry team. So he said, Josh, I want you and Ryan to pull in first, initiate your lights, and then you guys go to the door and you do your thing, and then we'll be back here after you guys get the house cleared or whatnot, and then we'll execute the search warrant. So we all got back in our vehicles, we pulled out, we went up Slate Ridge, and then cut off on Van Zant, and then Ryan was like, I've never been out here, so initially when we got in the vehicle, Ryan's like, I've never been out here, so you're just going to have to tell me which way to go. So we get to going, I'm telling take a left up here on the Slate Ridge and go. Well, first we went on a little side road beside a little cigarette store that takes you to Slate Ridge, Old 25, I guess is the name of the road. Then we went up Slate Ridge, and I said, we'll turn right up here on Van Zant. There'll be a red house at the end of the road, you can't miss it. So he turns up, and we get to a trailer park, and he's like, is it this one? I'm like, no, it's on around the curve. Just keep going. I'll let you know when we're getting real close. So we got close to the driveway. I said, slow down, here it is. So we turned in, and do you want me to show you? Sure. So we turned in, and we pulled right up to where this vehicle is, and as we were turning in, we initiated our lights. I do remember that part. And then we sat there for a second and let the other guys, initially we got out, and we held there for a second, on the side of this car that was parked on the driveway, and let the other guys, come up to us. So Landry walks up the steps first, and I'm in behind Landry. And then there's all kinds of stuff on this front porch. He takes the little dip to the right and gets up against the trailer, and I think there's a porch swing or some furniture of some sort on that porch. So I go around it and I go to the door. I check the screen. The screen's locked. By that time, Wes is on the on this side of the door, and I'm holding this side of the door, just holding on this where the door swings open. Then I didn't look. I'm not exactly sure, but I'm pretty sure Ryan's here and Landry's here. We get set, and Wes starts knocking on the side of the trailer, and he's saying, "Police, come to the door, search warrant. Police, come to the door, search warrant. Police, come to the door, search warrant." And at that time, we really didn't get a response, so we attacked the screen door. I tried to hit the glass to, just to knock it in enough to get to the latch on the screen door. It didn't work, so Wes kicked the glass on the screen door, and it just pushed through and fell down. It didn't break. So I was able to reach in and flip the latch. So I was holding the screen door open, and then at that point, Wes knocked again. "Please come to the door, search warrant." And then we heard somebody say something inside, and it was, I couldn't make out what he said, but it was like a, I don't know, it was like a mad tone. And then after we heard that, Wes said, "Come to the door with your hands up." So after that, we didn't hear anything. So I gave the release to open the door, and Wes kicked the door. The door swung open, and as it was swinging open, I was scanning. As soon as the door popped, I knew it was a corner bedroom. And then as the door was coming open, I started seeing a figure, and the door hit him, and then the door kept swinging open. And as the door was swinging open, the guy had a gun, and he was coming up like this, and all I could see was the gun raising. That barrel looked this big, and everything was like it was in slow motion. My finger hit the safety switch, and then as the gun was coming up, I was firing. And then the guy hit the ground, and then I paused for a second and just stood there. Then I entered the house first, and we cleared the initial entry point, which was, I guess it was a living room. I remember there was a couch and a table here. And then I started yelling for somebody, secure the gun, as I was holding on this door. I think I was around here, and I think the guy was laying here, and the gun was somewhere in there. So me and Wes entered this room and cleared it. There was a bed here, and I mean just a lot of stuff. And then Wes said, I got this room, and it ended up being like a short room, a small room. So he just entered it and called it clear. There was a closet right here. I said, Wes, we gotta check this closet. So he pulled the closet door open, and I cleared it. Then, I mean, by that time, I guess Landry and Ryan had already been through these rooms, and I guess this might have been a kitchen area. I don't remember it being this big. But I went out. Some point in time when this was going on, I heard somebody on the radio saying shots fired, shots fired. And then I came out. I mean, I was just, I don't know how to describe really how I was. But I can't remember who, but they said, anybody have a tourniquet? And I'm like, yes, here. And they went in and started rendering aid. And I heard somebody call for an ambulance. And I mean, after all that, I was just there.
Anything else before you were able to exit the residence and actually leave the location? Anything else take place after that?
Not that I can recall, really.
Okay. So we'll kind of go back to really the initial part of this. So as you get dressed and respond to the PD, it was still in the developmental stage, I guess.
Yeah.
Information was still getting obtained, and search warrant being obtained, and you all were gathering to get this information together before you all went, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you said that you went into Ashley's office. You're referring to Detective Ashley Taylor?
Yes.
Right? Okay. And you said that you saw a driver's license or an OL laying there on her desk. Do you know whose driver's license that was?
James Steele.
James Steele. Okay. What was the address, if you recall? Do you know what the address on that driver's license was? Okay. And then you said that you utilized Google Maps to look at that address. And what view did you look at on Google Maps? Was it the satellite view? Okay, so very similar to photograph A that's laying there in front of you.
Yes.
Okay. What residence was identified on Google Maps as...
This residence that we went to.
Grab that blue marker there and circle it. Okay. So on Google Maps, you see that residence is being marked as... And then you said that you actually got onto the PVA's website and searched that address. Did that also have a satellite image, or what kind of information did you get from the PVA's website?
It was pretty much a white double wide that looked identical to that.
Okay. Was it a satellite view?
No, it was a picture.
Okay. Did it appear to be the same residence as the one that you saw on Google Maps?
It appeared to be, yes.
And the same one that you've identified there on photograph A?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So based on the PVA and Google Maps, everything appeared to be consistent with what you indicated there?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have anything before we get into the briefing topic?
The OL photo that Detective Taylor had, was it printed out or was that on the computer, or do you know?
It was printed out.
Okay. And you reviewed that firsthand?
I mean, I glanced at it and seen
Okay.
the address and seen the name. That's...
And then I just want to make sure that I'm tracking right, because I think we've probably throughout the day used them interchangeably between Apple Maps, Google Maps, whatever. And if you don't know, that's fine. But initially, you said you pulled up the address on Apple Maps.
Google Maps.
Google Maps.
Yeah.
And do you have an iPhone?
Mm-hmm.
And so when you...
Well, I'm not... It was whatever map app that comes with the phone.
Okay. So the software or mapping software that's already installed on an iPhone?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Which I have Google Maps on there too, but...
Okay.
I,
And if you don't know, it's fine, but can you specifically recall which mapping system you used when you pulled it up well before the incident took place? If you don't know, it's fine.
I don't know. I would have to look.
It would either be Apple Maps or Google Maps, though.
Yes.
Do you have any other mapping software that you use?
I carry 2 different phones.
Okay.
And I have a TACNAV app on it, but I didn't use... I'm pretty sure I didn't use it.
Okay. Is the TACNAV... I'm sorry? TACNAV.
Yeah.
Is that on an agency-issued phone?
No.
Personally owned?
No.
Okay.
I don't have an agency-issued phone.
Okay. When but when you looked at it on the map, whatever program you used, it identified that residence
Yes, sir.
as 489.
Yes, sir.
Did you ever see any maps prior to the shooting incident that said any differently?
No.
All right. I don't want to get too deep into the weeds on tactics, but in a previous job that I held...
Let's go through some of this briefing and stuff before we get into those
Okay,
movements.
perfect, yeah.
To kind of walk through, like as you told it,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to kind of go through the briefing.
Mm-hmm.
So after you looked at that map and the driver's license and that information, you talked about everybody kind of gathered here at the police department and you all conducted a briefing. Do you remember kind of what information was gone over during the briefing here at the police department? Can you kind of talk about a little bit of that?
It was mainly, we're going to this address to conduct a search warrant. There's supposed to be some stolen items there. We had got this information from an informant, and he was supposed to took these items to this residence. I mean, we went over here as well, you know, who was going to be the initial entry team, and
Scene assignments, pretty much.
mhm.
Okay. As part of that briefing, you said that you all were looking for stolen property. Was anything else mentioned that could be potentially cause for concern?
drugs at the residence.
Okay. So the name that you all had was James Steele as being who you all were looking for at this residence. And then you all verified, you know, through map searches also that that address was, and that you all were looking for stolen property, and that there may be potentially drugs, illegal drugs at that residence also.
Yes.
Okay. Was there any information that was obtained, and it may not have been by you, but as part of that workup for that search warrant, do you know if any information was obtained about a criminal history or potential threats for law enforcement when you all respond to this address?
Not that I know of.
Okay, not that you're familiar with. Was there any images as part of that briefing? Did they show a map indicating the residence that you all are going to?
Yes, it was up on the big screen.
Okay. Was that information the same as what you had viewed through the PVA and your searches on the maps as well?
Yes.
Okay. So that information was consistent with what you had looked at also?
Yes.
Okay. So as you all conduct your briefing, you get everybody's assignment as to what their role is going to be once you all get to the residence and start attempting to execute the search warrant. And you said that you had got in the vehicle, so you were riding with Sergeant Jackson, right?
Yes.
Okay. Just want to make sure I didn't mess those up. What was your all's position in the convoy or the procession?
We were first.
You were the first, so you all were the lead vehicle in that?
Yes.
Okay. So that kind of makes sense as to why you were telling Sergeant Jackson this is where to turn and those things. So since you're familiar with Lily, you knew the best route to go.
Mm-hmm.
So did you use GPS to direct you to this address?
No.
Okay. So based on your search of the map and your familiarity with Lily, based on those things, you knew where this residence was in regards to other locations?
Yes.
Okay. And you talked about you all pulling off to regroup to make sure everybody was able to catch up so you all could go as one big chain
Mm-hmm.
down there. And during that time where you all gathered back up, they pretty much rehashed what you all had conducted here as part of the briefing.
Yes.
Right. So basically, to make sure everybody understood what their roles were.
Mm-hmm.
And did anything change from the briefing here to the briefing on the roadside?
No.
Okay. So it was just, hey, just want to confirm, this is what we went over, this is what everybody's role is.
Yes.
Okay. Ty, you got something at this point?
I've got down here that in this kind of roadside regroup, make sure, double check the plan, that Sergeant Drew Jackson, is that right? No.
No.
Ryan Jackson. Who said, I've got you down as, I want Josh Landry.
Oh, that's
Ryan.
Lieutenant Jackson.
Okay. And that's Lieutenant Drew Jackson.
Yes.
Okay. So the lieutenant
Mm-hmm.
was there and he said, I want these individuals to be the contact team.
Mhm.
From your recollection of that, was that fairly direct that he had already identified those individuals and that's who he wanted, or was he looking for volunteers?
No, it was direct.
Okay, so his mind was already made up about who the contact team was going to be.
Yes.
And was that, from your understanding, was that based upon your all's training,
Yes.
experience, and equipment? Or was that an informal conversation here prior to leaving of, hey, who wants to be on the door?
That was based upon training.
Okay. Is that typical in a
Yes.
situation like this? Okay.
Just kind of walking through kind of your account of what happened. So after you all have that secondary kind of, once again, guys, this is what's going on as you all are on the roadside there. So you all leave again. You all are the lead vehicle. So
Yes.
you and Sergeant Jackson. So once you all get down there, did you or anyone during the briefing, did you all look at any street views of the residents so that you knew?
Yes.
Okay. So you not only confirmed from that top-down view or the satellite image, you also knew from the street view what this residence looked like?
Yes.
Okay. And based on your familiarity with Lily, you were confident where this location was?
Yeah.
So when you all arrive, you're the first vehicle in there, and on, I think it's photograph A, you indicated you all pulled up really close to the residence, right behind the cars that were already there. Is that right? And then you exit and kind of pause so that the rest of the vehicles can pull in, and those guys that are going up to the porch with you to try to make contact, to allow them to get up with you. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So on E, you marked your all's locations. So, and you used X's, which is fine. So you indicated that you were the furthest in, for lack of better terms, on the porch area there. So you were up near the hinge portion of the door, right?
Yes.
And then you've got Wolf, and is that Sergeant Jackson?
Yes.
Okay. And then Lanyard Collette, right? So you were, based on what you said, my understanding of what your role was is you had your rifle raised and was covering down on the door.
Yes.
Is that in case someone came to the door that posed a threat to you all?
Yes.
Okay. And Wes Wolf was the one that was doing the knocking and announcing.
Yes.
Is that right? And I think I jotted down what you said was he knocked on either the door or the side of the residence and was saying, "Police, come to the door, search warrant." So what you recall.
Yes.
And you repeated it several times. So did he continue to repeat?
Yes. When we were trained at Norris, and Wes has been there a few times as well. I mean, upon entry, we knock and announce at least twice.
Okay. Did you all do twice, or do you think you did more than
We
that?
did more than that.
Okay. So even exceeding what you all were trained at Norse, he knocked and announced more than 2 times in an effort to try to get a response from anybody inside the residence.
Yes.
Okay. When he was knocking on it, was it like a gentle knock?
No,
Okay. How was he knocking?
it was really loud.
Okay. When he was talking and giving these, making this statement, "Police come to the door, search warrant," was it conversationally like me and you're having now?
No, it was loud.
Okay. Like how loud?
I mean, it wasn't piercing your ears, but I mean, it was loud enough where, somebody should have heard it.
Okay. So, in your mindset, and I'm not trying to get you to talk on behalf of Wes, but in your thought, was it loud enough that you think that somebody inside the residence would be able to hear
Yes.
what he was saying? At some point during that, was it before or after you all opened the screen door that you heard a voice from inside the residence?
After.
After. And I think you said that, so Wes kicked the screen door, because you checked it,
Yes.
and you realized it was locked. So he kicked the screen door. Was it like a glass panel?
It was a glass panel, yes.
Okay. And it fell down, but it didn't break.
It fell, it went through and just fell down out of the door.
Okay.
It didn't break.
Okay. So at that point, you were able to reach in and unlock the door,
Yes.
the storm door. So then you pulled it open. Did you have to remove that panel, or was it still attached to the door?
The panel was removed. I'm pretty sure Wes just pulled it over to the side and stuck it where he was standing up against the...
Just to get it out of the way?
Yeah.
Okay. Did he knock and announce after that, or do you know?
There was a... That's when we heard somebody from inside
Okay.
say something. And then he knocked and said, please come to the door
Okay.
with your hands up.
Okay, so he was saying, come to the door with your hands up.
Yes.
Was this loud?
Yes.
Okay. Similar to when he was given the directions, police, come to the door, search warrant?
Yes.
Okay. So you were holding the screen door, but you still had your rifle up.
Yeah.
So pointed towards the, was it towards the,
It was towards the knob side of the door where the door would first open.
okay. So that would be the first point that if anyone was coming out that you would be able to see?
Yes.
Right, okay. When you hear, and I don't know if you indicated or not, but you kept saying he. So the voice that you heard from inside the trailer,
Yes.
the residence, it appeared to be a male's voice?
Yes.
Could you understand what he was saying?
I could not.
Okay. Did it just sound kind of muffled, or did they sound like they were talking low?
It was,
If you could tell.
I mean, it was loud, but I couldn't understand what it was.
Okay. But you didn't understand anything that he was saying?
No.
All right. And I jotted down a note. When you said that you couldn't understand him, you said that it was a mad tone.
Yeah, it was angry.
Like, what do you mean?
Like, it was like, I don't, like, if somebody was mad and they raised their voice, or it was aggressive.
Okay. So, unlike us talking here, this is more of a conversational tone. Is it more aggressive and demanding?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Similar to that. Okay. But, again, you could only tell the tone of the voice, but you couldn't understand the words that he was saying.
Right.
Okay. So, sometime at that point, did you all give any further commands, or was the decision made at that point to go ahead and force entry into the residence?
After we heard the voice, I mean, Wes knocked again and said, come, I can't remember if he knocked again, but he said, come to the door with your hands up.
And did you all pause at that point?
Yes.
Okay. To allow him time to open the door?
Yes.
Did he open the door?
No.
Okay. Did you feel like you all waited long enough for him to be able to open the door?
Yes.
Okay. And at that point, who kicked the door?
Wes.
Okay. And I assume kicked. So, was that what it was?
Yes.
Okay. I thought it was, but I wasn't sure. So, wasn't trying to speak for you. So, when he kicked the door opens.
Yeah.
Was there any lights on inside?
Yes.
Okay. Do you recall, as you're standing there and that door comes open, and if you need to, close your eyes so that you can kind of visualize it, but as that door starts to open, do you recall what lighting was like inside that room?
It was like a lamp.
Was it near the door?
It was near the door, yes.
Okay. Did you have your weapon light on, or were you using the light from the lamp to be able to see?
The light from the lamp.
Okay. So as that door goes swinging open, as you're starting to see, I guess that door swung pretty quick, right?
Yes.
Okay. Did Wes seem to have any difficulty opening that door by kicking it?
No.
Okay. So he only had to kick it once and it opened.
Yes.
Did the door swing open pretty quick?
Yes.
All right. And I know you described it felt like everything slowed down. So as that door was opening, as you're seeing it open, is when you see a male standing there.
Mm-hmm.
In this photograph E, where was the male subject inside the residence standing?
He was right here.
Did the door actually hit him or come really close to it?
I'm pretty sure the door hit him.
Okay. And when you saw him, what was the first thing that you saw? When you observed him standing there, what was the first thing that you saw?
A gun.
Okay. Where was the gun? Like, what was the position of the gun when you first saw him?
It was in his hand. I can't remember which one. But, I mean, it was down and it was coming up, and then he had his other hand kind of pinching the back of it.
Okay. Like in what kind of, like what, you were talking about him pinching the back of it. We'll get into that in a second.
Okay.
What kind of gun, if you recall, do you remember what kind of gun? Was it a revolver or was it
a
semi-automatic?
Semi-automatic.
Okay. And you said that he was pinching, was it the back of it or the top of it?
Yes.
Like the slide or like the magazine well, like the grip? Do you recall what part of it he was pinching?
I mean, it was toward the back of the gun.
Okay. Well, I see you gesturing, and that's why I'm asking, because I see the motions that you're making, but to try to describe it verbally. So basically what you're indicating is you're demonstrating he was holding it in his right hand, but you're not 100% which hand it was in.
No, I'm not.
Okay. And the other hand was pinching the back of it, but what you're demonstrating is like it was the top of the slide, like the back of the slide. Is that what you recall where he was pinching it?
Yes.
What kind of action were you thinking that he was doing by pinching that slide on an automatic pistol?
He was chambering around.
Okay, so that motion to you indicated that he was manipulating the action to chamber around. Okay. So initially it was kind of in a lower position as he starts to bring it up, right?
Audible. Answer out loud. You're just shaking your head.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I get caught up while we're talking too.
Yeah, you're just nodding
Yeah.
your head. So just answer out loud.
It's all right. I know. I know this is hard, but these are the images that are hard, but it's important that
Yes,
we
sir.
understand what you saw.
As you're talking, it's just
I
just
know.
going.
I know.
I'm good.
Okay. So you're indicating that he's holding the gun in his right hand, is what you're adjusting, and he was pinching the back of the slide.
Yes.
Initially, what you saw was a low position.
Yes.
Was it, in your mind, did it appear to be oriented like towards his feet or towards your feet?
Toward mine.
Okay. Then you indicated he started to bring the pistol up.
Yes.
Okay. Where was it pointed?
Straight at me.
Straight at you? Okay. Did he seem to be pulling the slide back, or did you see?
He seemed to be pulling it back.
Okay. Did you already have your rifle up in a position to be able to fire in his vicinity?
I was in this position when the door came open,
Okay. So
looking over top of my sights.
Okay. So as you're gesturing, kind of like a low ready, so slightly down out of straight on where you would be looking at the sights.
Like a deep rest muzzle.
Yes.
Okay. So I guess from somebody close as me to you, so here about 6-8 feet, it would be more like their belt buckle. Would that be accurate?
Belly button.
Okay. So as you see him raising the pistol pointed directly at you, what was the position of his gun? You talked about seeing that muzzle, and you said it looked huge.
I looked straight down the barrel of that gun.
Okay. And I mean, you indicated, and you gestured with your hands
Yeah.
that it seemed like it was big, like the size of a dinner plate.
It was big.
Okay. At what point did you discharge your rifle?
When I could look down the barrel of that gun.
Okay. When you discharged your rifle, what was his actions then?
That happened so fast. It was like he melted.
Okay. So, do you have any idea how many times that you fired your rifle?
4 or 5, 5 or 6.
Okay. At what point did you decide to stop shooting?
And when he went down, or as he was going down, I felt like that, he was no longer a threat.
Okay. Ty, do you have anything up to this point?
May not know. Just curious, when you put yourself back in that spot, as he's bringing or presenting the weapon in your direction, do you happen to recall if his finger was down the rail or if it was in the trigger well, on the trigger, or you don't know?
I don't know.
Let's back up just a little bit, real quick. Before the entry was made, but you heard him coming to the door. Do you recall or not that the actual door, not the store door, was it solid, or if it had windows in it or anything like that?
It had a window, but there was a curtain or something over it.
Okay. Could you see into it at all?
No, all you could see was like some light.
Okay. Did you see any silhouette through the window?
No.
Once the door was opened and you realized that there was a man standing there holding a gun, I realized that the likely scenario is you became hyper-fixated on some things. But I'm curious, do you recall any facial demeanor from him?
I don't remember his face at all.
Okay. Do you recall him saying anything?
No.
I'm going to go back to the time as you saw that muzzle, and you said, your words, you said you were looking down that muzzle. What did you think would happen if you had not acted at that time?
I was going to die.
Okay. So after you discharged your rifle,
hmm
and you said that once you saw him going down, you felt at that point that he was no longer a threat. So you stopped shooting. Okay. What did you do at that point?
I reassessed. I lowered my gun where I could see him, and he wasn't moving. I could see steam rolling out the back of his head, and then we just made entry.
Okay. You as being you and Wes and Ryan and Landry.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Did any of you all immediately check on him, or did you all move in and clear the residence to make sure that there wasn't anyone else in there?
We checked the residence.
Okay. So I assume that was probably a pretty quick search.
Yes.
In the matter of, time frame. So once you all moved through, you and Wes went to this far end where this bedroom was.
Yes.
And you all checked that to make sure no one else was in there.
Yes.
And then the other two guys checked the other rooms.
Yeah.
And, excuse me, when you went in, you said that you saw the gun.
I saw
right?
the gun.
And I think you said that you directed one of them, said secure the gun.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody did.
Right.
I don't know.
It's okay. Did you observe the gun to have been moved, or was it in a different location from when you initially went in and saw it?
I seen it.
Right. But did you see it, like had it been moved, or was it in a different location as you were?
When I come out of the room,
Yes.
I didn't look.
Okay. Fair enough.
Didn't.
So you didn't see it in any different location. So to your knowledge, no one moved it.
I don't know.
Okay. So after you conducted the search to clear the residence to make sure there was no one else in there, then you exited at that point.
Yes.
Okay. And that was pretty much your involvement inside the residence.
Yes.
Okay. You had already indicated to us that you didn't do any type of magazine change or reload. So
No.
your weapon, when we did a round count and observed it, it was in the condition it was at the end of that shooting, right?
Yes.
Okay. Did you provide any statements to anyone immediately afterwards? Or did you just kind of step off to yourself and then they remove you from the scene?
I was out there. I mean, I wasn't myself.
Okay. And when you say out there, do you mean like...
I was zoned out trying to, I guess, I can't find the word for it. Trying to comprehend exactly what happened.
Okay. Were you still... Because what you described, it sounded like, you were in fear. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. You told me that you thought you were about to die. So those emotions that you felt, was that fear?
Yeah.
Okay. So once you stepped outside and you kind of stepped off that porch, was that what you were trying to deal with? Just the emotions of being overwhelmed. Okay. So once you stepped off, then other officers there, because there was a lot of you,
Mhm.
then those other officers started taking actions, but you didn't participate in any of that. And based on what you're describing to me, you said you were kind of zoned out, dealing with your emotions. Did you observe other people like rendering aid or anything like that? Or were you even in a condition to be able to observe any of that?
I remember somebody asked me for a tourniquet, and I gave them my tourniquet. I don't know who did.
Okay.
Josh, sorry, one question to that. We may have missed it earlier. Where would your tourniquet have been? Would it be on your person? On your plate carrier?
It's on my plate carrier in the
Okay.
third pouch.
Okay. And I'm sorry if I missed that earlier.
You described that a long time ago.
Yeah.
As part of your outfit.
It's got a pin and a
Tourniquet.
Tourniquet.
That's where I got confused. I didn't know what you said when you said pin. Sorry.
and a handcuff key in there. And I thought I dropped my handcuff key, and I was looking for it, and it was in my pouch.
I understand. Ty, you got any follow-ups at this point? And, you know, Josh, based on what you were describing, you were pretty emotionally overwhelmed. So a lot of the actions that probably took place after that shooting took place by other officers that were there on the scene. And if you don't have recollection or you don't remember, it's okay for you to tell us that. So if we ask any follow-ups on that,
Okay.
you know, by all means, you just correct us if we ask you questions that you just don't know.
Okay.
Your rifle,
Mm-hmm.
what all modes of fire does it have?
It just has safe and fire.
Okay. And is that semi-automatic?
Yes.
You don't have a fully automatic
No,
option?
sir.
Okay. And you described when you were at the door that you hit your safety off as the gun was coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Do you recall specifically when you took the weapon off safe and moved it to fire
As the gun was coming up.
as you saw him with the gun?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And up until that point, it had been on safe.
Yes.
I want to go back to immediately after the shooting concluded, after you fired your last shot. You described what you saw from him, and then Sergeant Moses talked about whether there was immediate attention to him, whether you cleared the residence. Can you describe to me, because it's been a little while, I've got some familiarity with it, just having went through a couple courses, but I never went through like SWAT school or anything like that. Like I said, I'm not a tactics guy. Is there a definitive priorities of work, so to speak, when you make entry into a residence or clearing a room or anything like that? Can you describe that at all?
Or fundamentals.
Well, yeah, like, what is the priority?
Get out of the doorway.
Okay.
Dig your corner. Primary sweep, secondary sweep, stack your threats.
Okay. When you talk about stacking threats,
Mm-hmm.
did
Open
you-
doors, closed doors. Well, people first.
Okay, so you address people first. Right.
Open doors, closed doors, and then a dead space.
Okay. So after you addressed,
Or people dead space, open doors, closed doors.
okay, and again, I'm not here to split hairs because I don't know it very well, but I know that it exists.
Yes.
I know that there is some like priorities of work, and I guess what I'm getting at is once you've addressed priority A, whatever it be,
Mm-hmm.
in this scenario, we're going to say priority A is the person pointing a gun at you. Immediately following addressing that, what is the very next priority?
Make sure there's no more people.
Okay. And so it's consistent that you would clear the residence before addressing him any further, if you felt confident that that first threat had been addressed.
Yes.
Okay. Do you know whether or not this individual fired a shot at you or not?
I don't know.
How much time do you think, had you not fired when you did, before he was able to fire at you?
I don't know.
Do you think it would have been long at all?
I don't think so.
So it's pretty immediate.
Yes.
Did you have time to do anything other than what you did?
No.
Based on all the information that you personally observed and knew at the time when entry was made, based on what you heard from him, what you heard from Wes, were you of the opinion that this individual was compliant or non-compliant with the commands that he was being given?
He was non-compliant.
And I realized the door hit him. And that may have, I don't know if that stumbled him or not. I wasn't there. From your perception, was he trying to back up away at all? Was he advancing towards you, or was he holding his ground?
I think he was just standing there.
Okay. But he wasn't trying to turn away and...
No.
Okay. Do you have any recollection of, as you began to fire, I know you described he went down fairly quickly. Do you remember any turning or any movements of his body as you were firing? In your training, what, in the position that you were in, what kind of, do y'all number your people like in a stack?
Yeah.
Okay. What's this one called?
That's number one, first light.
Okay. First light. Right. Why is it first light?
Because that person can see the crack of the door where it opens.
So if this door opens to the interior, like this one does, do you all consider like a storm door first light or no?
No.
Okay. So the main entry door is
Yes.
first light. So your position would have been first light.
Yes.
In your training experiences, what have you ever been given any sort of indication about when contact is made or a lethal encounter may happen, what position is most likely to encounter that?
First light.
So of all the individuals that were in the stack, so to speak, the person that's in the number one position or first light position, statistically speaking, I guess, is more likely than the others to have contact at first light.
Yes.
And that was you that night.
Yes.
Were you identified previous to either during the briefing or the huddle up before coming to the residence that you were going to be the number one man? Or is that just the way that you all got onto the porch and got into a formation? Or are you traditionally the number one?
Traditionally.
Okay, so that's a typical role for you.
Yes.
That's nothing different than any other time.
No.
One other question I have, sorry. On photograph number A, you described that you were in the vehicle that pulled up the driveway here.
Yes.
Couple questions about that.
Yes.
I know that during the briefing, one of the supervisors, I don't know if it was the formal briefing here or kind of the informal huddle up, somebody gave direction to turn on blue lights, is that right?
Yes.
When I arrived on scene much later, there were several police vehicles. I know that there was at least one with blue lights on
from my observations, the one in the driveway had what I think is being referred to as scene lighting on.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know if the driver of your vehicle, which was
Ryan Jackson.
Ryan Jackson, do you know if he activated blue lights or scene lights? Or if you don't know, that's fine too.
When we initially pulled in the driveway, the blue lights were on.
Okay. So the scene lights were something it was changed to after the shooting occurred. Okay.
Verbalize what you were.
Yes.
Okay. You were shaking your
Sorry.
head. Yes.
Yeah, see, I'm getting into the same thing. So you all turned on blue lights, not scene lights. Do you know if anybody had white scene lights on at the initial arrival, or were they all just blue lights? Or you don't know?
I don't know.
But there were flashing blue lights.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then, I believe, if I heard correctly, there was you had said that where you all arrived first, there was a brief pause maybe to allow everybody to kind of get their feet on the ground. What were you doing during that time?
I was waiting for people for the entry team to come.
Okay. Was that, how would you describe that for somebody that wasn't there? Was that you just kind of hanging around, or were you already working, so to speak?
I was already working.
Okay, and what sort of things were you doing then?
I was locked in on the steps.
Okay, locked in on the steps.
Yeah.
And why was that?
Because that's where somebody would come to if, they were
Okay.
coming out.
So you weren't necessarily looking around?
No.
As the first person there, do you have, and as the number one guy, so to speak, while you're waiting for everybody else to get up, have you been trained to kind of hold on something? Okay. When you hold on something, how are you positioned? Or do you remember how you were positioned that night while you're waiting on everybody to get ready?
I remember I was standing over here, and then the other three come up the side, so I just fell in line with them.
Okay. Well, I guess,
Your focus.
yeah, when you're holding, so to speak, on the steps, are you at a low ready, a high ready, depressed muzzle,
High ready.
looking through your sights, so you're at a high ready, but your field of focus is narrowly on the steps, or are you kind of looking around for threats from any direction, or is that somebody else's job?
That was somebody else's job.
So your job is to hold on those stairs. So do you recall looking around like towards the back of the house, looking up on the side of the house, looking left or behind you or anything like that?
No.
Okay. All right. How long would you estimate that momentary pause lasted before you all proceeded up?
It was less than a minute, I would say.
Okay. All right. Does anybody give you a verbal or physical indication that everybody's ready and you can move up?
I can't remember.
Okay. All right. Do you recall whether or not any lights were on at the house when you arrived?
Seemed like there were some pole lights that were around, but I'm not. There was a light that came in like a floodlight on the front porch.
Okay. From what I recall when I got there, if we're talking about the same light, I think it was hanging on this corner. It was motion activated, like a spotlight. Do you know when you pulled in the driveway before you got up the driveway, do you know if that was on or off?
I can't recall.
Okay. Do you remember it coming on at any point in time?
I can't recall.
Okay. Would you turn on your flashlight at all before you, or while you were holding on the steps, or while
There was enough lighting there to see the steps.
Okay. Was it more dark than light, or more light than dark at that time?
It was more dark than light.
Okay. One other thing, and I'll be getting started. back up
Okay.
to the briefing here at the police department, what we're going to call the formal briefing. Are any of the images in front of you today closely related to the images that were displayed on the, I think it was called a smart board?
These two,
Okay, so
Which ones?
both of these.
A
Name them. Yeah.
A and D.
and D. So A is the top-down one, and D is more of, I guess, what could be like a street view.
Yeah.
Okay. Both of these images were pulled up on that larger screen?
This one was D.
Okay, D was. Do you know if A was at all, or no? I know that you had seen it at
I
some
had seen
point.
A, but D was pulled up on the screen.
D is what you had pulled up. Is this pretty close to the image? Okay.
Yes.
While you were at the briefing, do you recall seeing any markings on the side of the house or anything like that?
No.
Do you recall any conversations amongst officers or supervisors about any markings on the side of the house during the briefing?
No.
Ever at any point during the entire investigation, preparation, and up until the point you made contact at the door, did you ever have any concern that this was not?
No.
You live in the Lilly area?
Mhm.
How often are you on Van Zant Road?
About once a week, once every 2 weeks.
Do you know many people that live on Van Zant Road?
I know on up the road here, I have a really good friend that lives there.
Okay. Do you know that there are abandoned properties on Van Zant Road?
No.
Oh, or and if I say abandoned or unoccupied, anything like that? Okay. So do you know, like, who lives at this house?
No.
And this is on number A, or I'm sorry, photograph A. Do you know who lives at this house?
No.
Do you know who lives at this house?
No.
What about this one?
No.
Did you know who lived at,
No.
did you know who lived at, what's that say there? Do you know? Do you know who lived there?
No.
Okay. Did you know, or were you familiar at all with Jim Steele? Was it James or Jim Steele?
No.
Had you ever had any encounter with him?
No.
Okay. What about Doug Harless?
No.
I was going to ask something else, but I can't remember what it was.
During this incident,
No.
did you or any officers that you saw, that you recall, did they take any or the scene?
Lieutenant Drew Jackson got my rifle and put it in his vehicle.
Okay. So he secured your rifle, which was what you used?
Yes.
Right. Okay. Did you identify any witnesses at the scene?
No.
Okay. Did you collect any evidence at the scene?
No.
Okay. Did you take any photographs?
No.
Did you speak with anyone, whether as an officer or civilian, immediately after the incident?
I don't know. There were some guys that come around and I mean,
Were they just checking on you, asking
Yes.
if you were okay? If you didn't make any type of statements about what
not
had
as far
happened?
as I can remember, no.
Okay. Have you made any statements to anyone regarding this incident, whether it was verbal, written, or recorded, prior to today, us in here in this interview?
I talked to a psychiatrist
Okay.
and a pastor.
Have you reviewed any photographs or video footage, if any exist, of the incident prior to this interview?
No.
You got anything up to this point?
Yeah, I remembered what I wanted to ask. Were you involved in the burglary or theft of property investigation at any point?
No.
Were you just simply tasked with the execution of the search warrant at the residence?
Yes.
Was any information passed to you during the briefing or any conversations about the information that they obtained about who you were going to try and make contact with during the search warrant? Sorry, I may not ask that very clearly. Were you given any indication of who might be at the residence or how many people may be at the residence?
Yes. James Steele and possibly two other people.
Okay.
I can't remember their names.
Okay. And who would those other people have been? Do you know, like, what the relationship was there?
Just people that stayed there.
Okay. When you arrived at the residence where you made contact, you pulled in the driveway. Do you recall, were there any vehicles in the driveway?
There was a red car and a black truck.
2 vehicles.
Yes.
Were there any other vehicles there on the property?
No.
That's it.
This is probably the hard question that I have to ask, Josh, but having some time to think about the incident, there's been a few days that have gone by since this occurred and today. Do you think there's anything that you or law enforcement could have done differently to change the outcome of the situation?
No.
Okay. Ty, you got anything?
No, sir.
Mr. Miller?
No.
Okay. Emily, you got anything?
No.
Okay. Matt? All right. Josh, I'm going to have you sign these photographs. We just used A through E. You didn't do any writing on any scratch paper. You can use any of those markers. Just sign and date it. Today is December 27th. If you don't mind, will you write your badge number beside your signature? I find it hard to read some people's signature, so badge numbers always help. Is there anything else that we've not asked during the interview that you want to make sure that we know regarding the incident that you think might be important to the investigation?
No.
Okay. All right. We'll conclude the interview. The time is 15:54 hours.
Can y'all hear me? That was long. I forgot that was 2 hours. But that is the complete interview KSP did with Josh Morgan after the Doug Harless shooting. And like I said, I've got all of this in a Google Drive if you guys want to see it. I'm still kind of editing stuff around, like relabeling some of the files, the names and stuff, so everyone can kind of just easily view things because they honestly put it in a little bit. KSP put it in a little bit sloppy, in my opinion, and it just I feel like it needed reorganized a little bit. But we can do whatever you guys want to do. If you want to watch another one, or if y'all want to look at some of the photos. I'm letting more people into the Google Drive right now, though. If you guys have requested access, um, I'm letting you in. And if you guys don't know how, just go to my pinned post on my page and just request access as a viewer, and I'll accept it. And you can see all of the files for yourself. But that is probably the best way to get all of these out to everyone, because I was like, I don't know how I'm going to get hundreds and hundreds of pages and audio and everything out and photos. So that Google Drive will be very beneficial. But I think I'm going to take a little break from this. I may go live later again and we can listen to more. I'm going to clip some up, put it on my page. I'll also post the neighbors' video camera footage. I'll post like the full unedited version. I think they sent it in 2 parts, and I'll put that on my page. And yeah, if you guys want me to go live later, we can look at more, listen to more. It's a lot to take in. It's a lot to see, a lot to hear. But there's a bunch. There is a bunch. I mean, if you guys want to hear another one, I don't care to just put it on and play it. That's kind of what I did with Josh. Is I just sat back and let it play. I was listening to it as well, but I'll show you the other officers. I don't care to do that though, because it's not that bad. Let me see. Audio. But yeah, if you guys want to listen to any of these officers, or they got EMS, they got interviews with neighbors, and then they got an interview with constable, interview with Officer Jared Hale, and then all the ones that were on scene as well. Of course, we just listened to Josh Morgan's, but if you guys want to listen to any of these other ones, just let me know and I can start it up. The cool thing about these is I can let them play while I'm working on editing these other videos, so I can put on my page at the same time. Jeremy and Bridget, does it say who made the first shot? Crime with Bobby. So to my knowledge, in these files, the only one who shot any shots was Officer or Detective Josh Morgan. Let's see. But yeah, we can listen to any of these. You guys are more than welcome to join the Google Drive link. I got it pinned on my page. Just request to join as a viewer and I'll accept it. And you guys can see everything that KSP's released, which is probably the easiest way. Which one do you guys want to listen to? You said Riley or Hell. We can listen to either one of them. We can listen to either one of them. You want to listen to Jared Hell's? Okay. I haven't heard this one. This one's 43
Today's date is
minutes.
January the 2nd, 2025. The time now is 12:46 hours. I'm present at the London City Police Department. Myself, Lieutenant Ty Shady's Kentucky State Police, Post 11 in London. Also with me is Detective
Samuel Peace, Unit 338.
Also present for this interview is, sir, what's your name?
Jared Hill.
Jared. This is in reference to case 1124-069. That's the death investigation regarding Douglas Harless. Jared, are you a police officer here with London Police Department?
I am, yes.
Okay. And we kind of talked about this before the interview got started, but just so that you're aware, this is a criminal investigation. This is not an administrative investigation. Because of that, it's worthwhile for me to tell you that this is considered a voluntary interview. It's non-custodial. You don't have to participate in it. It's not any portion of your employment or anything like that. Do you have any issues with me asking you questions about that today?
I do not.
Okay. All right. Your full name is Jared Allen Hale, is that right?
That is correct.
Okay. What's your date of birth, Jared? How long have you worked here at London Police Department?
I have been employed here for 3 years.
And what is your job here?
Basic patrol,
Okay.
non-patrolman.
Patrol officer, are you assigned a certain shift, or
I am assigned to day shift.
what's that shift typically?
That shift usually is 6 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Have you ever had any other duties here?
Outside of being an SRO for 2 months, no, that's been general patrol the
Okay.
majority of the time.
All right. Who's your immediate supervisor?
Ben Webb,
He's a sergeant.
that is correct.
Is he usually on shift with you?
Usually, yes.
Okay. Any prior law enforcement experience before London Police Department?
I worked for a year at the Laurel County Sheriff's Office as a court security officer.
What was your primary function there?
Basic patrol and security clearance and bailiff in the courtrooms at the Laurel County Courthouse.
Okay. Did you ever answer any criminal complaints out in the county or anything like
No,
that?
I did not.
Sheriff's office. So the entire time you were at the sheriff's office, it was just limited to court security.
Correct.
Okay. Any place else that you've worked or had law enforcement experience?
I worked about 9 months at the Laurel County Detention Center.
Okay. And what was your job there?
I was a deputy jailer.
All right. All right. Are you a certified police officer?
I am.
Okay. Where did you attend your training at?
The Department of Criminal Justice Training Center.
DLCJT here or there in Richmond?
Correct.
Do you happen to remember what your class number was?
Class 526.
Do you by chance recall the dates that you attended there?
I believe it was December the 4th through May the 5th.
Of what year?
It was 2021 to 2022.
What month did you say that you graduated?
I graduated in May of 22.
Okay. So is that like a 22 or 23 week academy?
It was a 20-week academy.
20 week, okay. Following DLCJT's graduation, your certification, where did you first start law enforcement as a certified police officer?
London Police Department.
Okay, so when you came here 3 years ago, did you have any sort of additional training that you did, or probationary period or anything like that?
I did have a probationary period here.
How long was that for?
I don't recall how long my probationary period was.
Okay. Did you have any, sorry, my brain's not working this morning. What am I looking for? When somebody rides with you.
FTO?
Yeah, did you have an FTO phase?
I did have an FTO phase.
How long was that?
13 weeks.
Okay. Were you working on December 23rd? That would have been the day prior to Christmas Eve?
I was.
Okay. Was that a normal assigned shift, or?
That was normal assigned shift.
Okay. I can't remember what day of the week that was. Let me look here. Do you happen to know off the top of your head?
I don't remember.
I think that would have been a Monday. Do you normally work on Mondays?
Yes.
Okay.
We rotate, so that would have been one of the days that we were rotating. But yeah, I did recall working that day.
Okay. And would that have been the 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. shift?
That would have been 6 a.m. to 6 p.m.
So you were assigned patrol that day, you worked a normal shift. How did you become involved in the investigations that ultimately led to London Police involvement on Van Zant Road?
So I responded with Officer Jamie Etherton to Taylor Drive. I don't remember the exact numeric. That was in reference to a theft report. We arrive on scene for the theft report, and I assisted Officer Etherton in trying to locate a suspect.
Okay. How many theft reports were taken that day?
I don't recall.
Okay. I think my understanding was there were maybe 2 different burglary investigations. Are you the case officer on any of those?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Do you know if Officer Etherton is the case officer on any of those?
I do. Officer Etherton is the case officer on the Taylor Drive incident.
Okay. And was that a burglary?
It was either a burglary or a theft report, just a regular theft.
Okay. And what did that consist of?
There was 2 buildings. I know the residence sat directly behind, but directly behind to the left of State Farm there off of West 5th Street. 2 buildings had actually been burglarized. There was multiple items that were missing due to the large amount of load. Sometimes as patrol officers, we will help assist investigations with other officers just to be able to try to get the casework knocked out quick. I assisted Officer Etherton in it. Officer Etherton took all the information down for the basic report. We ended up having a suspect lead, and I then assisted in trying to locate the suspect for him.
Okay. Were you dispatched to the complaint on Taylor Drive, or that's just something that you went to go help Officer Etherton with?
So typically when we get dispatched on complaints, it's not really a rotation, it's just whoever answers the radio.
Okay.
Officer Etherton and myself both answered the radio for that complaint, so we were both there at the same time for the incident.
And then was a decision made between the 2 of you, or did a supervisor assign who was going to work the investigation?
Officer Etherton, when we pulled up on scene, advised that he would work the theft report.
Okay. So there were multiple items taken from 2 different outbuildings there.
Correct.
How did you go about identifying a suspect? I know you said that some information came about.
So one of the victims, I don't recall his name, but one of the victims of the theft had advised us that he had a former employee that worked for him. His name was Hobart Butchery.
Okay.
We were able to retrieve camera footage from Phil McDonald's State Farm there on 5th Street, and in the video you actually see a white, I believe it was a 1991 Chevy Blazer 2-door, and we were able to make contact with the victim again who advised that he had sold that vehicle to Hobart Butchery, where he was a former employee of his.
Okay.
So that was how we were able to develop the lead of a suspect, because he had said that Hobart Butchery had originally been in jail. He had got out, tried to get another job with, it was Hensley Lawn Care, I believe was the name of the business. Tried to come back as an employee, said that he probably had some discontent to him in his heart and stuff because he didn't want to hire him back.
Okay.
And we showed him the picture of the vehicle, and he said that he had actually sold the vehicle to Hobart Butchery's mother.
Okay.
But Hobart Butchery did drive the vehicle because he had said that he'd seen him in the vehicle before.
Okay. Do you know? You said you don't remember the owner of Hensley Lawn Care or whoever the.
I don't remember the guy's name. No.
Okay. But he was familiar with Hobart Butchery.
He was familiar with Hobart Butchery.
Yes. Do you have any knowledge of how he came to the conclusion that he felt like Hobart Butchery was involved in that theft in particular, other than the fact that he just wasn't willing to give him a job again?
Basically, that was the main thing. We didn't really have any established leads at that point. But obviously a former employer, I did coordinate Mr. Butchery, and he did have a bunch of prior theft history.
Okay.
So it was come to the determination between me and Officer Etherton. I told Officer Etherton if he wanted just to work the theft, I would try to find a lead so that we could maybe find Mr. Butchery so we could interview him, because it was a
So you all kind
decent
of
lead.
divided the tasks, so to speak.
Correct.
He was, I guess, taking the case report and then all the inventory of all the items that were stolen, and then once you all kind of came to the opinion that Butchery may at least be a person of interest, you kind of took the lead as far as trying to locate Butchery.
Yes.
Is that right?
That's correct.
Were you given any sort of impression about how recently that this issue with whoever owns Hensley's Lawn Care and Butchery had a conversation about him not getting his job back? Was that something that had just happened days prior, or
I do believe he did say that it had been days prior, because he had said that the victim there that owned the Hensley Lawn Care, he had said that he had just recently got out of jail at the beginning of December.
Okay.
And he said it was soon prior after that he had contacted him trying to get his job back, and he said they had some words.
Okay.
And he said he figured he would probably do it out of spite, is how he said it.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, how was entry made in the burglary? Was that forced entry, or did that person have access to it?
There was a building that was closest to State Farm. It did look like it had some forced entry to it. As far as the investigation out there, Officer Etherton was the one that took it. But from my knowledge of what I've seen, it did look like there was some forced entry to that door. The other building didn't really appear like there was any forced entry to that building.
Do you know, was it just unsecured, or do you have any idea of how?
When we arrived on scene, the door was actually still locked. So I don't believe that the door was secured.
Okay.
It was open, but it was still locked.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you think the door was maybe just left open on it, or were you under the impression that whoever was responsible for the theft had opened it?
I believe that the person who was responsible for the theft had gained access in there.
Did the victim give you any sort of indication of whether they thought Butchery may have had keys to the building still, or?
The only thing that he had gave me any sort of inclination over is he said that when we were trying to establish leads for a suspect, is that he had said that Butchery had worked for him and he knew where all of his stuff would be.
Okay.
And that way he would be able to, that was why we kind of established him as a person of interest, because he had worked for him for a while. I don't recall how long it was that he said that he worked for him, but he was very sure that, he would know where my stuff is. He would know which stuff would be easiest to pull out of here and take out of here. And that's kind of why we established him as a person of interest.
Did he give you anybody else that would be a person of interest, or somebody that he thought may be capable of doing that kind of stuff?
He did not. The only established person of interest that we had at that time was Mr. Butchery.
Okay. All right, so you mentioned that there was surveillance footage on State Farm, which is close to where the theft occurred from?
Correct.
And You reviewed that video?
Myself and Officer Etherton did,
Okay.
yes.
And that's where you observed the 91 two-door Chevy Blazer?
I didn't observe the 91 Chevy two-door Blazer on the camera footage at that time. Officer Etherton actually went back and reviewed camera footage.
Okay.
At that point, we were able to get a picture of the vehicle, and once we got back to the police department, that's when I didn't review the camera footage, but I seen a still photo of the vehicle.
Okay.
And once we got back here to the London Police Department, myself and Officer Etherton and the victim that was from Hensley Lawn Care was actually here. We were able to show him a still photo, and
Okay.
he had told us that he had sold that vehicle to
Gotcha.
Hobart Butcher.
Did the video surveillance actually capture the burglary or the theft, or it just showed the vehicle coming and going?
I'm unaware. I just seen the still
for sure.
photo. Yeah.
Were you able to observe any of the stolen property in the video, like in the vehicle or anything like that?
I didn't review the camera footage, and
Okay.
so
Were you able to see who was operating the vehicle?
I was not in the still photo that I seen. I was unable to see who was operating the vehicle in the picture.
So you've come to the consensus then, basically, that Hobart Butcher is at least somebody that you need to follow up with.
Correct.
Potentially interview as a person or a suspect. So how did you proceed from there?
So my proceedings from there is we actually had established a lead because he had said that he had, the victim there from Hensley Lawn Care had said that he had sold the vehicle to Hobart Butcher's mother.
Okay.
Hobart Butcher's mother, her name ended up being Barbara Bruner.
Sorry, one more time.
Hobart Butcher's mother, her name was Barbara Bruner.
Okay.
So once I got Miss Bruner's name, I was able to go to the Laurel County 911 Communications Center. We were able to locate the vehicle in her name. It come back to a 1991 Chevy Blazer was the vehicle, and she did have one registered in her name.
Okay. The victim in the theft that stated that it could have been Hobart Butchery and he sold the vehicle, he told you that he sold it to Hobart Butchery or his mother?
So he had said that,
Or it was his understanding that Hobart would drive it, but
what my understanding was is that Hobart Butcher didn't possess a driver's license, so
Okay.
they sold it. He sold it to Barbara Bruner, Hobart Butcher's mother, but
with
it
the
was-
knowledge that Hobart was probably going to be the person that would drive it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I just want to make sure I was tracking on that. Are you familiar with Hobart Butchery?
I am. I actually have arrested Mr. Butcher before.
Okay. What have you arrested him for?
I arrested him for DUI.
Okay. Just one time?
Yeah, I've only had, and he also had a parole violation warrant.
Okay. Did you know where he resides?
I was unaware of where he resided. That's why myself and Officer Etherton, we had the conversation of, if you want to work the theft, maybe try to track down some of this property.
Gotcha.
I'll try to find Mr. Butcher so that we can try to interview him.
Okay.
Because at that point we hadn't established
Gotcha.
any, yeah.
To your knowledge, was Officer Etherton able to locate any of the stolen property anywhere?
To the best of my knowledge, I'm unaware.
Okay. All right. So you pulled the information on the vehicle, and it matched that Barbara Bruner had a vehicle.
Yes.
That same year, that same model, registered to her. What did you do from there? What information did you get from that?
At that point, I was able to find a driver's license, which was associated for Miss Barbara Bruner. The address that was on her license was.
Are you familiar with Miss Bruner?
I'm not.
Okay. So you didn't have any prior knowledge of where she lived or anything?
I had no idea.
Okay. Okay, what'd you do from there?
So we actually had a complaint at Five Below, which I took a break from the investigation to go answer the complaint. Once the complaint was took care of, I had an issue that I had at home with my wife.
Okay.
So I went to go check on her. Once I checked on her, I left, and I made a phone call to Officer Etherton, and I told Officer Etherton that I was going to go try to follow up on this lead with the vehicle at the because it wasn't far from where I live, and I told him I was going to go out there and check it, but I was going to have to check with my supervisor first, which was Sergeant Webb. So I was able to make contact with Sergeant Webb, and Sergeant Webb gave me the approval to go out to check the address to see if Miss Bruner was living at the.
Is that a fairly common occurrence, or would you say it's pretty rare for you guys to follow up on an investigation outside of the city limits? Like if you need to go out in the county or even leave the county, for example?
No, it's not uncommon. There's been plenty of instances of cases that if it occurs and it starts inside the city limits, that we go outside the city limits to be able to investigate those crimes.
Okay. And is it your understanding that you still have law enforcement authority countywide?
To the best of my ability, or to the best of my knowledge, yes.
Okay. So did you go ahead and proceed out Van Zant Road?
I did.
Okay. You said you don't live far from there. Do you live right near Van Zant?
I live in Keedy.
Okay.
So I lived probably about, I'd say 8-9 minutes from.
Okay. So when you left home after taking care of whatever personal issues, you proceeded straight to Van Zant?
Correct.
Okay. Do you have any idea about what time of day that was?
I would say sometime probably around 12, like late 12, like right around 1 o'clock, 12:40-ish, somewhere in there. Anywhere between 12:40 to 1 o'clock.
Okay. And then just kind of take me from there when you went to Van Zant Road.
So when I went to Van Zant, I observed a trailer that I believe would probably be, I believe it was like a tannish, dark brownish trailer. Didn't observe any vehicles in the driveway. Didn't look like anybody had lived at that specific trailer. So I went down, and there was a gentleman at another trailer. I'm unaware of what the address was at that trailer, and I stopped and talked to him and asked him questions. I was like, "Have you, do you know if anybody lives at this address?" I even asked if they had ever heard the name Hover Butchery or if they had ever heard the name Barbara Bruner. He informed me, he said, I just live here. I'm not the landlord or the homeowner here or anything. He's like, there's a guy, and there was actually a guy that was walking down towards me. And he said he used to be I don't remember how he exactly put it, said that he was the landlord's son, I believe is who he was. And he said he would probably have better information on that. So I drove up to him, rolled down my window, asked him in reference to I'd asked him if he had ever seen the vehicle that we had in question, which was the white Chevy Blazer. He had said that he had never seen it come in and out of there. And then the only other thing that he had told me was when I asked him about Barbara Bruner and Hover Butchery, he had said at that address that there was a male and a female that had lived there before, but they had been evicted, and they were evicted 3 to 4 months ago.
And that was it?
That was it. Yeah.
Did he provide their names?
He never provided any names, and I actually didn't get his name. Okay. It was kind of just an informal neighborhood canvas, just trying to see if anybody was living at that.
So would you just characterize this entire portion of the investigation just a neighborhood canvas?
Just a neighborhood canvas.
Do you happen to recall, or did you take any notes with who the first neighbor that you spoke with?
I did not. No.
Okay. Did you take any notes that you recall while you were out there at all?
I did not. Because once that I had established that there was nobody living at the address, sure. I had no further reason to be out there.
Okay. So you talked with the original person or original neighbor near that said that they just live there. They're not the landlord or anything like that. Mm-hmm. And then you had a conversation or an informal conversation with the landlord's son. That's the person that was walking towards you.
That was how he was described. Yeah, okay. That was who he was sorry. That's who he was described as, was the former landlord's son, okay. And he had took care of some of the properties.
Did you talk to anybody else while you were out there?
No, I only talked to 2 people.
Okay. How long would you estimate that you were on Van Zant Road for?
Probably no more than 10 minutes.
What were you driving that day?
I was driving I believe it's a 2022 Dodge Durango.
And that's London Police Department vehicle?
Yeah.
Is that marked?
It is.
And what was your uniform on that day?
What I'm currently wearing today, I was wearing a black tack vest with police, and I was actually wearing a jacket that day that had London Police symbols on the sides of it.
Okay. I realize I didn't bring any maps with us today, and I apologize for that. Where is in relation to? I'm sure you're familiar probably with where it is now.
At the time, I wasn't.
Right. I understand that.
But I would have to see a map because the only way that I did
Let's see if I had any with me.
because I can show you the exact address that Google Maps took me to.
I may actually have some from a previous interview. This is a print out of MapQuest, and I'm actually just going to go ahead and label this as A. This is probably the most zoomed out of Van Zant in that area. Are you able to kind of tell me where you were at on Van Zant Road that day?
The trailer set in the back around here.
Okay.
So when I turned down, the trailer sit kind of to the left. There was a trailer that was sitting in front of it, and it was the trailer that sat directly behind it. It kind of set at an angle, like if you're sitting on the roadway, like where my cruiser was probably like when I pulled down there was right here.
Okay.
The trailer was almost facing kind of like towards an angle at my cruiser because it was more diagonal instead of a horizontal.
Okay. Does this photograph show you anything differently or help you in any way?
This was the trailer that I was here for.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Let's label this one as well. I'm gonna label this one B.
It was a brownish colored trailer. Like I said, it set at an angle.
All right. On either A or B, whatever one you think is most helpful, or you can do both. Will you take my pen and just identify kind of where you either parked your vehicle and then identify where it was?
I come in this way, and my vehicle, I had come right in here, and I had stopped because I was going off Google Maps.
Okay.
And I'd stopped for a brief moment, and then right up here is where my vehicle was, and that's when I looked down and I seen that there was no vehicles in the driveway, and then I proceeded to do a neighborhood canvass to see if I could get any information.
Can you just draw a box there to kind of represent your vehicle?
And then after I didn't establish, I come to right in this area.
Okay.
And then I proceeded up here, which I turned around at the end of the road right there.
Okay. From what I recall in the time that I spent out there, I think that there's a gate that was right here. Do you know if that gate was closed or open?
It was open.
Okay. So you were able to go up there and turn around?
Yeah.
Who's the neighbor that you spoke with that said that they just lived there and they weren't the landlord or anything?
I spoke to that individual right here.
Okay. All right. And then who's the person that identified themselves as the landlord's son?
The guy that I spoke to up here.
Okay.
Yep.
So you spoke to him in your vehicle?
Yes.
Up here?
Mm-hmm.
And then the original person you spoke with was here?
Yes.
And so was this the person that was kind of walking down to you?
This was the person that was walking down to me. Yeah. That was who was identified as the landlord's son.
Okay. And that's all we've done on A. Is there anything that B shows you that A doesn't or helps us kind of in any way that you can think of?
No, because that right there shows pretty much my entire thing that I did.
And that was for about 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Do you know if anybody else with the police department went with you? Was there any other law enforcement vehicles on Van Zant Road that day?
To the best of my knowledge, I was the only patrol unit that went out there, and that was because I was trying to locate Barbara Bruner to see if I could talk to Hobart Buttrey.
And by chance, do you know if you documented that at all on your CAD or called out there or anything like that?
I don't believe I called out. I do know that I contacted Laurel County Dispatch, and I believe I spoke to dispatcher Rachel Durham, and I asked if there was any previous CAD history.
And would that have been on the 23rd?
That would have been
sometime
on the 20th.
around.
Yeah.
You didn't have any sort of? Did you call her before you went, or when you were there?
I don't recall what time that I called her, but I do remember making a phone call trying to gain information on that address.
Okay. And I'm sorry, you may have said, did she say that there had been any prior calls there at that address?
I asked her, I think they had been a couple months back or something. I don't remember, to be honest with you.
Okay. In your conversations that you had with anybody out there, did anybody give you any contact information for Buttrey or Miss Bruning?
No, nobody gave me any sort of contact information for Buttrey or Bruner.
Did the gentleman that was identified to you as the landlord's son give you any indication of who lived in any of the neighboring trailers or anything like that?
No, he didn't.
Okay. Did he make any mention of which ones were occupied, which ones weren't occupied?
No, because I was there just in reference to the two names that I gave you.
Okay. I know you said you were familiar with Mr. Buttrey because you'd arrested him previously.
Yeah, Mr. Buttrey.
And you said that you were not familiar with Mrs. Bruning, his mother.
I was not familiar with Mrs. Bruner. No.
Okay. Now that some time has passed, obviously you've probably heard some names that were involved. Were you familiar at all with Doug Harless?
No.
Okay. Did you have any indication of where he lived at?
No, I had no idea where he lived.
Okay. What about James Steele?
That name does not ring a bell.
Okay. So you didn't have any prior information that he lived on that road or anything like that?
The only two suspect informations that I had that of the two people I was trying to find was Hobart Buttrey and Barbara Bruner.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you happen to run any license plates or anything like that while you were out there?
I did not.
Okay. And were you wearing a body worn camera?
I was not.
Okay. And from my understanding, nobody in the police department currently wears a body worn camera.
That is correct.
Does your vehicle have a dash cam?
It does not.
Okay. Did you take any photographs or make any personal recordings that day?
I did not.
Okay. All right. So after you left Van Zant Road, where did you go next?
The next place that I went to was it's out Waterworks Road.
Okay. And why did you go there?
We had established information off of a TLO report that was a possible location and address for Barbara Bruner.
Okay, so you went to Riviera Drive?
Correct.
And what did you do once you arrived?
Once I arrived at Riviera, I kind of scoped out the area to look and see if there was any certain vehicles. I had actually got on Facebook and seen that the mother had a black vehicle, and I was trying to locate and see if I could see any black vehicles that were sitting outside of that residence.
Okay.
To try to make contact with Miss Bruner to see if we could establish a lead on where Mr. Buttrey was.
Okay. Did you have any luck finding anybody out there?
So we ended up coming back to the police department. I went out there just to kind of familiarize myself with the area to make sure that she wasn't out there at Riviera. We come back. I spoke to Sergeant Webb and Officer Etherton. We actually spoke with Captain Ryan Jackson. And he wanted us to go out to, there was another address out Johnson Road. I don't recall what the address was out on Johnson Road. But myself and Officer Mailer went out there, and they wanted us to go to both locations to be able to see if we could locate a person of contact to be able to get us in contact with Hobart Buttrey, which I do believe Sergeant Webb was able to go out to the Riviera address and was able to make contact with Hobart Buttrey's mother. And then myself and Officer Mailer were able to go out It wasn't Johnson Road. I apologize. It was we went up 30. I think it was Ray or Roy Johnson Road. Maybe was what the road was. And we were able to make contact with his father, but his father said he hadn't had contact with him in months. But we were able to get a possible location on him there from the mother. That was Sergeant Webb, though. So.
All right. Do you know when you went to Roy Johnson? Did you say it was Roy Johnson Road?
I believe it was Roy Johnson Road. It's set up 30. It was off of
Riviera, or do you happen to recall if Sergeant Webb, did anybody call out any of these locations on the CAD that you're aware of?
I don't recall.
Okay. You said that you got some of the information for the Riviera Drive on a TLL report. Do you know how you came up with the Roy Johnson Road?
So it was on the TLO report as well.
Okay. Who ran the TLO report?
It would have been Post.
Okay. Do you know who you spoke with at Post?
I spoke with dispatcher Angela Owens, and she was able to give, I can't remember his name. I know they call him Muff.
Yeah, Owens. He's our intel analyst.
Yeah, so I was able to talk to her, and with the Hobart Butchery and the Barbara Brunner subject, that was who I obtained TLO reports on to try to find possible addresses.
You're understanding that James Mullins, the intel analyst, is the one that ran the TLO report?
Correct, yeah, to the best of my knowledge.
And then he relayed that information to Angela Owens?
And Angela Owens relayed that information to me.
Okay. Do you know about what time you called Post for that?
I don't recall the time.
Would that have been after or before Van Zandt?
It would have been after Van Zandt Road.
Okay. All right. So Sergeant Webb gets information from Miss Bruning. Is that right?
From Miss Brunner, yeah.
Or Bruner, I'm
yeah,
sorry.
Brunner.
And what was that information?
So the information the Miss Brunner had actually contacted, and I don't remember the lady's name, but had actually contacted his ex-girlfriend who lived over, I believe the address was somewhere in Beach Creek over in Manchester, and had advised that he was over there but wasn't currently there, and that he was over in Manchester, Kentucky. And from that point, I know that they had decided that they were going to go over there and try to locate him, but at that point my involvement with the investigation was concluded.
Okay. And what was the reason for that? Did anybody tell you to just not take any more action in it, or was it the end of your shift, or something different?
I know that there was a couple of units that went over there, and it was at the end of my shift, and I talked to Sergeant Webb. I said, do you need me to go over to Manchester with them boys to try to see if we can't locate this guy? And he said no. He said just go on and go home.
Okay.
So
Okay. Did you pass any of the information about Van Zandt, Riviera, or Roy Johnson on to any of the detectives that ended up being involved in this investigation?
the only people that I had passed any information along to would have been Sergeant Webb and Officer Etherton.
And that was the information about, Van Zandt was no good?
That's basically, when I went out there, I wasn't able to establish any leads out on Van Zandt Road. If that was the location of where Barbara Brunner was staying at the address. And at that point, that's what I basically passed along, as I said she wasn't out there.
Okay. Did the victim in the theft give you any sort of, I know he told you about selling the vehicle, did he give you any sort of direction or idea of where Mr. Butchery might be staying or located?
Not that I recall.
Okay. And then, so I guess there was a decision made that, information that Butchery may be located somewhere in Clay County.
Correct.
And you said that they kind of ended your involvement with it. Do you know, did you answer any more complaints after that, or?
I don't recall if I answered any more complaints after that. That was kind of a hectic day as far as just trying to track down this guy.
Okay. And then how did you spend the remainder of your day?
Went home, spent time with my wife, and played Xbox.
Okay. And you got off at 6?
I got off at 6, yeah.
Okay. As that evening progressed, did you have any conversations with anybody at the police department about how the investigation was progressing, or if they were able to get a hold of Mr. Buttrey?
I talked to Officer Etherton, and he did say that they were able to apprehend Mr. Buttrey, and at that point, I had pretty much concluded what I had set out to do to try to help locate him.
Okay. Are you aware, did Officer Etherton go to Clay County to try and locate Buttrey?
Yes, I believe he did.
Okay.
And I believe it was Officer or Lieutenant Drew Jackson who was actually able to locate Mr. Buttrey.
In your conversation with Officer Etherton or anybody else that evening, did they give you any information as to where any of the stolen property may be located or anything like that?
Not that I recall.
Okay. Were you asked to assist in anything as far as the search warrant goes on Van Zant Road?
No.
Were you aware that the police department was planning on going out to Van Zant Road?
I was not aware.
Okay. When did you become aware of it?
Aware of it when seen it on Facebook.
Okay. All right. And I guess that's after the shooting incident?
Yes.
Okay. So you didn't have any prior knowledge that the police department was going back out to Van Zant Road?
No. Not that I was aware.
Okay. You think anything?
When you spoke with the gentleman that was the landlord's son, did he tell you that X amount of the trailers were occupied or not occupied, or who any of the residents were that were still staying in them at all?
No, the only trailer that we had talked about was the trailer that I was out there for, and the only thing that I remember him telling me from that trailer was that there was 2 people that used to live inside that trailer, and they had been evicted 3 to 4 months ago because he said that they had caused a lot of headache with him and ended up having the Laurel County Sheriff's Office come out and evict him and stuff. That was the only trailer that I was there for. He had never mentioned anything to my knowledge.
You spoke with the actual case officer and your sergeant. The only thing you could relate to them was the trailer you went to look at was allegedly unoccupied. You had no information about any of the others.
Yeah, correct. Because the only reason why I had to be out there, the only legal reason why I had to be out there was because at that time the vehicle of interest that we were looking at, the 1991 white Chevy Blazer, the plate that come back to Miss Barbara Bruner, that was the address that it gave, and I had no other reason to be out there.
That's all I had.
While you were on Van Zant Road, do you recall seeing any of the neighbors out and about or anything like that?
It was the first neighbor that I spoke to that was, if you don't care for me to revert back to the first neighbor, the only neighbor that I seen that was out was the neighbor that I spoke to right here. Okay. And then at that point, once I spoke to him, I seen a gentleman that was walking down from this way towards my vehicle, and that's when I pulled up because he had told me that he was a landlord's son, that he would have more information. Okay. It was the only neighbor I seen out.
Just out of curiosity, was marked?
I don't recall.
Okay. Did you check mailboxes or anything like that you can recall?
Not that I recall.
Is there anything that I haven't asked you that you think would be helpful?
Not that I can think of at this time.
Okay. I think that's all I've got too. As we end the recording, if you don't mind, would you mind just a date and sign this map that's identified as A, since you made marks on it? B, we won't worry about since we didn't mark anything on it. And if you don't have anything else, go ahead and conclude the interview. The time now is 13:29.
All right, that has wrapped up that one. Do you guys want to listen to any other interviews? Or y'all want to take a break for a little bit and then come back and do it again? What you guys thinking? I can play more. I just I know it's a lot of information to take in. But it's up to you guys. If you want to listen to a couple more, we can, or we can take a break, come back and listen to a couple more here in a few hours. Whatever you guys want to do. But here is the rest of them. We have watched Detective Josh Morgan's and we have watched Officer Jared Hales. Jeremy and Bridget, I think I'm going to go ahead and end this live stream for a little bit, regroup, maybe come back on later tonight or tomorrow and play some more. Once I end this live stream, though, you'll be able to watch all of Josh Morgan's. But I appreciate everyone tuning in. I'm going to take a break, reset, maybe hop back on in a little bit, but I'll let you guys know.